Man.
Where did you buy that?
Goodwill.
You went and bought a...
All right, I'm coming in for a short segment.
Bearded Monster.
I was with my friends just now. I was
Were
with
y'all
my friends,
swapping?
my veterans, my amigos in war. My amigos.
I think that chair might be too short.
And I
for
want
you.
to say to
please.
the
He's a big,
55 79 platoon, I want to say to you guys, thanks for all you did, and no more presents for saving a couple of your lives, okay? And we're going to have some announcements coming up with my war veteran friends, because I had to do something when I was in Vietnam. I had to come back for something, and y'all question my sportsman, my athleticism. Sometimes,
Yes.
even though I can play every sport. And I told Julie when I was beating her on paddle tennis last week that I'm the best athlete that you've ever known, and in the family and all abroad. And I used to beat all you guys. I used to take on y'all's whole basketball team by myself. But anyway, I want to say one thing.
It's true.
That to my friends
Phenomenal
out there, we went through hell in Hanoi and all those towns we went through. But I want to tell you something. It was a great time getting together with you guys today.
Oh, yeah.
It was good.
Where'd you guys
and,
go?
and by the
Where'd
way,
y'all-
I got pictures coming
of
me
with
and
the
my
boys?
buddies.
Good.
With the boys. So
Good.
those are coming in a couple of weeks because there's going to be a big reveal that I'm doing. Okay?
I can't put that on. I mean, there's no way.
Well, what are you talking
What are you
about?
talking about? Your dad served with those men. What is this guy talking about? Is he
Bailey.
questioning?
I mean,
Is he
are you
questioning?
serious?
I can't
Bailey
put
doesn't
that-
know anything. Bailey doesn't know about the Nom stuff.
You weren't around.
Leave him out of it.
Dylan, you weren't around when this was going on. Who are you to question your
don't,
father?
Don't question me. Let's get off the Vietnam
It's just
stuff.
a numbers
no,
thing. I'm a numbers guy,
No,
and, you know, he
listen,
was 7
don't
when the war
start
ended.
numbers schmumbers. Listen.
He was
right?
7. He lied about
No,
his age. He
he's
said he
long.
was 18, and he
First
went
off,
over and fought.
First off, Vietnam stopped in 1977. So
What
don't
year were
even
you
go
born?
there.
You know, you look
so,
great for your age,
thank you.
but what year were you born?
Thank you.
He was
We'll
born in
talk about that
61.
later.
Okay,
I never talk about
he
that.
served.
61.
I served in all that
There was all
matters.
kinds of 16-year-olds.
Shinokwe, guys. Shinokwe. All right, so now, real quick.
Shonify.
And also, and me and James Harden, who I want to lead into from my Vietnam veteran,
God.
we actually share a lot of the same things. Me and James talk in North Vietnamese and South Vietnamese. We speak all the languages. So I want to say one thing. I've always selected him. When Sam Presti decided to trade him to Houston, I texted Dylan that day, 2012, whatever it was, and said the Oklahoma Thunder will never get in the make this win a championship.
Nope.
Number one, they didn't.
They didn't
and
win with him.
he just killed the whole team. And now Presti had to redo that team 10, 15 years later. And my boy, yesterday, went on that court and laid down the law.
Yeah, he did. Throwback beard. Throwback beard.
And
My
I'm going to
God.
get him on the show. I'm going to go to one of the
not.
clubs that he goes to and I'm going to get him on the show. So
And I know a lot of people at home have been wondering who's going to be on Trump's ticket as a vice president.
That's another big thing coming.
We got about at least a 10 to 20% chance.
We've got a big chance
on the ticket.
and I can't stand him sometimes.
I know,
but we're
I know.
a lot alike.
Yeah,
and if we play golf together, I don't think there's a duo on the politicians that could beat us.
Now, if y'all played in that PGA Tour event, the two-man team this week, I think you and Trump would have given him a run for money.
Not if there's cameras there.
So,
please.
So that's it.
Please.
So I wanted to say one
By the
thing.
way, I did see, I don't know if you clicked on the link I sent you yesterday, but did you see the club that I sent, the No Swing Golf Club? That's the one he's got to have.
Yeah.
You literally put it up, and you press a button, and the thing hits it perfectly.
Dylan, last
190
time we
yards.
went out, your
see me
dad had a chip-in.
Chip-in.
A chip-in.
And
On his 19th
remember hole
shot.
5?
Please.
Hold on. Remember hole 5 when
Oh,
I hit that
piped
drive and
it.
you said, oh, my
was
God, I
up by
would
the-
never
it was
hit
up by the
another one.
green.
It was right
Wait,
by the green.
on hole 5, you hit a drive?
Swear to God.
Oh, well, he's on. No.
Six.
He said, I
Six.
swear to
Six.
God.
My God,
no,
six.
he drove.
Six.
He
Oh, six.
drove the green
Six.
on the par 3.
Six.
Yeah, I decided to
Six
use a driver
Smiths, yeah.
on 5 just
Yeah.
to prove with one hand I can hit on the green with a driver.
Yeah.
And the driver is a 1973 driver. All right, so come on. So real quick, because I've got to run.
You got that 73 driver over in Nam.
Yeah, Dom. So real quick, it's funny you say that because I was going to end with that.
Yeah.
I wanted to say it was a tough day today, and I don't want to have any PTSD flashback shit.
Oh my
so
God.
real quick,
shitting me?
seriously, bro. So real quick,
I don't know who you are to question your father. If he says he
so
served, he served.
Stupid. So real quick, we already know I served. Let's not even go there.
Ah, man.
All right. So I want to say one thing that I'm going to predict. This is not the reveal. The playoffs as well.
Yeah.
From here on out.
Okay.
All right. So and scores and all that shit. But anyway, and Bailey has gonna seal All of this starting.
All the picks?
I'm going to start.
Sealed?
I'm going to start probably the day after tomorrow because I've got stuff to do.
Yeah.
Because me and the boys are going to get back together tonight. We're going to go through some of the old times, and then we're going to get together tomorrow and watch Harden.
Maybe
Okay.
a couple beers.
Yeah. We're going to watch James Harden play. And I've been turning my old boys on. They're kind of older now because I was the youngest guy there.
Like I told you, James Harden gets 4 halves per series where he's good, and
What
the
a hater.
the rest of the series he's terrible. He's the biggest choker in NBA history.
So I just want to say that so far my picks in the room with you guys at the Vegas room that I designed, that room we have together, that amazing room that I put together, I have not missed a pick. But that's normal. We all have that as the norm now, which is sad because
you picked the perfect
it's
bracket.
The norm.
So.
Thank you.
And we're still waiting to hear back from you, Warren Buffett.
Oh, I got
the
my
ball
makeup.
is in your court.
I got a makeup sponsor, too.
Oh,
so
God.
can you believe
We're
that?
plugging a
One
makeup
show they
sponsor.
see me on, and they give me a makeup sponsor. But you know, I don't need makeup.
No, God.
So I
no.
told the lady, just give me the money. All right, we don't need the makeup.
Just the
Just
money.
the money. Because we had. But I want to say one thing.
Yep. Let's get you one more. What do you need here?
One last thing.
got it.
Trump and I'm talking to his people.
Yep.
His peeps.
You said they're going to give him a call later today.
Well, I'm
Maybe
going to
when he
talk
gets off the
today.
golf
We're going to
course,
talk
yep.
because he's off trial today.
Oh, okay.
So he's not in trial till tomorrow.
Okay.
And he can't use his phone in the courtroom.
Got it.
And Stormy's coming in tomorrow, and that other girl. So I'm going to tell him, calm down. There's nothing wrong with girls getting on the stand, but I want to say one thing that I'm going to pick the winner of the NBA championship and the score. But that is not the big reveal.
The exact score.
I just want to talk about, don't ever question, I'm ending with this today, my athleticism, because I'm going to prove everyone in this that watches me, which is millions
Does that
of
mean
people,
we have videos coming soon?
you have a lot of things coming special.
The people are going to be
I
ready.
mean-
edge of your seat stuff.
I might even have to hire a whole other crew to follow me because I already got one.
It's
But
like
that's
in
just for my
Along
music
Came
stuff.
Polly where he follows him around.
Crocodile
with
tears.
The E! Hollywood true story.
No, it's not that. So I wish you guys the best. That's right. I want to tell you guys, I got you all a magazine article coming out because I pull a lot of weight, and it's going to talk about the podcast and get you all some more sponsors. And I think
Did
I might
you tell
throw.
these people you served?
Oh, absolutely. They already know.
Okay.
In fact, there's going to be a story on me coming out in August about me serving.
Okay.
With pictures and stuff.
I mean, I can't wait. I can't
And
wait to hear
I'm
about it.
interviewed. The guy's going to interview me. So it just proves to show that I can talk to anybody and let them know that I served. And thank you, America.
Yeah.
God bless America.
Trump. I mean, Big Dog. That was beautiful.
And I want to say I want to leave my chair here today, and I want to leave the hat.
Please,
Okay.
please do.
So let's just leave the hat.
Oh my gosh.
Because I want.
All right.
Hey guys, I'll see you in a little bit.
All right.
Tomorrow night. we'll
Thanks,
watch
Big
your
Dog.
money. Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Big
Get out
Dog.
Your little picks, and if you need
All
help,
right.
let me know.
Yeah, we'll let you know next door.
I love that hat.
Oh,
Look at that thing.
that is. I mean,
The shit we go through in war, love and war.
oh boy,
That's a character.
that was. I mean,
That's a character. It's
one
not
of the
realistic.
greatest
Get out.
performances.
All right. Well, let's get into the actual
All right,
show.
yeah.
How
Welcome to the Slobberknocker Sports Podcast. Here, let's.
Hold on. Let's go ahead and take this. Well, we'll just leave it. Whatever. At this point, I want to move the chair and everything. Okay. Now, past that, past the psychopath, sociopath who just came into the room, the
How
king,
dare you.
king narcissist. All right. We've got a lot to talk about today.
We do.
We had the NFL draft over the weekend.
Yep.
We had a number of NBA playoff series progress. One of them is over. A couple more are on the brink of ending. Not a ton of close playoff series. I think we only have 2 of the 8 tied at 2-2. Although I guess technically if Miami were to win tonight, that one would be 2-2 as well. Regardless, we got a lot to talk about. Obviously, we have to mention Caitlin Clark at the end of the show. Talk about her massive Nike contract that she just got. Turner loves that.
Everybody at home is just on their edge of the seat waiting to hear about Caitlin
Well,
Clark.
she is the most popular athlete in the world right now.
Is
But
that true?
I don't know. It's got. I would assume she's up there. I'm just probably just made that up. But anyway, all right. I'm Coach Lieck. That's Uncle T. We're here, episode 31. Thank you to everybody who commented on the last episode for episode number 30. And we're getting close to our 4,000 watch hours. We're getting close to 2,000 subscribers. Lots of good things, exciting things going on over here at the podcast. Got some new content coming out soon. But let's jump into these things here real quick before we go into sports. I got to do my San Antonio business of the week.
Oh, yeah.
And this week I'm going to go with Order Up. Order Up, I go there pretty often. I would say at least once a week. You know, it's got a very underrated cheeseburger. You know, I never, when I was younger, I would go there. I used to get they had this steak salad that was really good. It's been there for a while. They have, I can't remember if they have a second location. I know they have the one in Alamo Heights, which is where I go. Yeah,
Order Up's been there for years now in Lincoln Heights. I don't know if there's another one or not.
I think there was. I don't know if they still have it. But anyway, right over there by the HEB in that little shopping center on Lincoln Heights off Bassey Road. Phenomenal cheeseburger, good French fries. They've got a big menu. They're famous for their chocolate chip cookies, too. They make these in-house, really good chocolate chip cookies. Go over to Order Up, get a cheeseburger, support San Antonio businesses. That's what we're pushing on this podcast as we, on our mission to get 5,000 subscribers. We're going to keep promoting San Antonio businesses. All right. Enough of that. Let's go into the sports realm of things. NFL draft. A lot of interesting first round and second round picks. We watched the first round together last Thursday night. Couple of obvious winners and losers. And let's start there. Let's go with the biggest winner of the draft. Who is the biggest winner in terms of a team of the NFL draft that, according to Uncle T?
I think it's the Eagles. And we talked about this briefly before the podcast. I mean, they got Quinyon Mitchell, who was, I think, let's see here, he was rated a 92 in the 10th overall best player in the draft by ESPN. They got him at pick 22, and I remember them showing, well, they got him, and they also got Cooper DeJean, who was the 19th overall rated player, and they got him at, I believe it was it pick 40?
It was in the second round,
So they got him at pick 40, and Quinyon Mitchell at 22. And they showed it on ESPN that the percentages of either one of those guys being there at that pick were 5 and then 6%. And they needed help at cornerback, so they just went out, back-to-back picks, and took care of the issue. So I think it was a really good job by them. Surprised me taking Will Shipley in the 4th round, but it was late 4th round, and he's a kid that runs hard.
They already got Saquon Barkley, obviously.
And they drafted Jeremiah Trotter Jr. His dad played for the Eagles for years back in the day. So anyway, I think it was a good draft from them. Just went after their needs. And Howie's done a great job drafting, besides the only pick I just remember him missing on is the catastrophic one where he took Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. That's a
pretty big miss there.
That was a huge miss. Other than that, he's been really good. If it wasn't for that, they'd be like, this guy's the greatest drafter of all time. But he's been pretty good, but that was a huge miss. Yeah.
Hard to overlook that one.
And I'll never forget when the video of the Vikings, War Room, just laughing after they took him. They're like, okay, go ahead and pick Jefferson. And it was the pick was in 2 seconds. So
actually nuts that he did that. Fun fact of the week, my fun fact of the week, the Eagles set a record for draft day trades this year.
Oh.
So they set the record for most trades in an NFL draft, or tied the record. But that's par for the course for what Philadelphia has done in the past 5 years. They just go out and they make moves to win now. They did it in the regular season. Does it always work out? Absolutely not. But they're going to keep trying. They went out and got, what was the safety's name that they got from Bailey's Tennessee Titans? Kevin Byard. They go out and get Kevin Byard because in the middle of the season, it's okay, our secondary is bad. We're having a lot of trouble at safety. They go out and get an all-pro safety in the back end. Now, they couldn't have gotten him out of town faster at the end of the year, and it backfired. But the fact is, they, in the middle of the season, realized, hey, our secondary is weak. We're weak at this spot. If we're going to compete for a Super Bowl, we have to address this. And they go make a trade and get it. And they make a good trade. They don't give up that much to go get him, right? Same thing in the draft. They see an availability, and they'll move up to get it, right? They know what they want, where they want it. They see value. Howie Roseman and all the guys in that war room, they know where their value is, and when they see it, they pounce on it. They don't hesitate, and that's what makes them so good. It's what differentiates them from the Dallas Cowboys and from other organizations. I did think, and I'll lead this into my biggest winner.
Yep.
I think Quinyon Mitchell was really good, and he's you're picking at straws when you're going between who's the best. I actually thought Terrion Arnold was the best cornerback in the draft out of Alabama. And that leads me to who got him, which was the Detroit Lions. I thought they were a big winner here. And I think it's kind of been mixed. I think some people think they had a really good draft. Some people thought it was just okay. But, looking at the Lions last year, the biggest issue was their pass defense, right? In the last, I believe, 3 years, they've been last in the league in overall pass defense as a whole. They finished, I believe, second to last in yards per attempt allowed, finished tied for fifth to last in passing touchdowns allowed. They just got torched, and they've been getting torched for 2-3 years. So what do? They see an opportunity, just like the Eagles, at pick 24, where the Cowboys were sitting. They trade up with the Cowboys, and they take Terrion Arnold, who I believe was a steal at that point. He led all SEC cornerbacks in pass breakups, led all SEC quarterbacks in interceptions. He was the top-rated run defender in the SEC in the secondary at a 90.6, according to PFF. So he's a phenomenal player. And then they went out and they got another cornerback in Ennis Robertson Jr., who was a really good cornerback as well. Only allowed one passing touchdown all year. So their first 2 picks, what do? They go address exactly what they need.
Yep.
They added Carlton Davis in free agency as well. So I love what the Lions did. They got 2 offensive linemen in day 3 to add some O-line depth because they've got a good starting O-line, but they've got health concerns.
One of the interesting picks they made, too, was a kid out of British Columbia. He played Canadian college football.
Really?
And a giant, but I think they got him in the 4th round. My brother was like, that is such a weird pick. But then we saw the video on him, and of course, the competition he's playing, but the kid is just massive. My brother was like, well, that kind of fits what the Lions like to do.
Yeah.
They're just bullies up front. So trying to add to that already really, really good offensive line. So
do you agree? You think they were they one of the bigger winners?
They had a really good draft too. I just think I would have said them or the Eagles, honestly, and I just went with the Eagles just because, for the value and the grade, they say the Eagles did better. Who knows? Only time will tell. I always have trouble going with a kid that played in the MAC over an SEC guy that's like good against a run, like you said, and Arnold. But people think really, really highly of Mitchell. I think even Parsons was pissed off when they got him. They said that he tweeted. I'd have to look at what he tweeted, but like, how the hell do the Eagles get that kid at pick 22 or whatever? So
yeah, I mean, he's right. He is.
It just seems like these guys always fall to the Eagles. It's like
no, it is
exactly what they need too.
Right.
It's like, oh yeah, we'll take him. Or like who's the guy that was going to be the bona fide number 1 pick out of Georgia that they got because it was legal troubles.
Jalen Carter.
Yeah, they got Jalen Carter at pick like 11 because or whatever it was
because he fell because of the car racing, street racing.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It kind of just like always plays into their hands. We thought when we were watching it, and obviously looking back, that was a great pick at 22, like we just talked about. But we both were sitting there thinking, because this is what the Eagles do. They traded up to 22. Dallas had not traded back yet and was sitting at 24. And we were like, Jason Kelce just retired at center. Yep. The Cowboys are obviously taking Graham Barton at 24. Eagles are going to trade up and steal him at 22.
Yep.
Of course they are. That's smart. But then they end up taking an even better pick right there in helping their secondary. I really would, like you said, I would have gone with Terrion Arnold there. But like you said, people think really highly of Mitchell.
Yeah, they had that Mitchell kid rated quite a bit higher, which I thought was crazy. But
Saban said after the draft or during the draft process that they really tried to get him to come to Alabama. Like they really wanted him at Alabama.
I wonder why or how he ended up at Toledo.
I mean,
was he just from up? My whole thing is like,
he probably wasn't that highly rated coming out of high school, I guess, right?
But Saban was trying to get him to transfer there, or what?
Yeah, it was in the portal.
Got it.
Yeah, he wasn't recruiting him. At least I know about high school.
Well, that makes much more sense. Yeah. If he was, then you would think for sure that he's going to go to Alabama over Toledo. No disrespect to the Rockets.
No, he was. Yeah,
and
he was
lights, camera, action.
He was a 73 grade. And his best offer was Illinois. He had Florida Atlantic, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, Illinois, South Alabama, South Florida, and Tulane. He was like the 123rd cornerback in the class of 2020. So he was not highly recruited, but obviously had a phenomenal college career. The only other one I want to ask you about for winners, the Chicago Bears. Obviously, it's not like, oh, wow, what a draft, because they took who they probably should have taken.
Pick, yeah.
But you look at like the way that they're going, and they basically, follow the mold of Cincinnati taking Joe Burrow at quarterback and then taking a top wide receiver in Jamar Chase.
Yep.
Obviously, Rome Odunze didn't go to USC and play with them, but you get a receiver quarterback duo. You've already really upgraded that receiver room. You've got DJ Moore that you added last year. You already had Cole Kmet. You add Keenan Allen, who's a nice veteran piece. That's going to be a really good receiving core. They added an O-lineman from Yale in the later rounds. I like what they did. They didn't fuck it up, right? And it would be totally a Bears thing to fuck that up. I like that the Bears
one of the guys
went with wide receiver at 9 and paired him with the quarterback.
Yeah. And not to mention, they already have DJ Moore, who I think most people who are executives in the league, GMs, they think of him as a top 10 receiver in the league, talent-wise. And then Keenan Allen, if he could stay healthy, obviously one of the best route runners in the NFL. So listen, and right away, not to say right away, you give a guy a year, right? But, Caleb Williams is surrounded by a pretty good surrounding cast. Offensive line could be better, but he has some weapons. So you would think if he is as good as people think he is, that he'll start maybe not his rookie year. Look, Peyton Manning threw like 9 million interceptions. Didn't have a lot of help. But you'd think that Caleb Williams kind of right away. Touching on situations of quarterbacks going to good situations, if McCarthy, and like I said, you give him 2 years, but if McCarthy can't win with the cast that he has around him in Minnesota with Justin Jefferson, Addison, and Hawkinson, and can't move the ball at those guys, then, I'm not willing to call it a bust right away, but he should be good. We should know on him relatively, kind of right away. And I don't think the case is the same for Drake May or Jaden Daniels, who go to pretty bad teams.
Although Jaden Daniels a little bit better situation than Drake May, I would say.
No,
but
a little bit better.
But I agree, it's not much better. I mean, those are both rebuilding teams with not a ton of weapons. I completely agree. So that's, in terms of players, would that be the guy who ended up in the best spot, in your opinion? Like, biggest winners of the draft from a player
McCarthy?
perspective? Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's the guy who landed in
I
the
don't
best
know
spot.
if it's I certainly, jury's still out on the pick, but he couldn't have asked to land in a better spot.
That's what I mean, yeah.
No.
I mean, you got Justin Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson. You have a pretty good offensive line. You've got a really good offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I
think that
I think it's a good situation. The defense is not great, but that team should be pretty good next year.
And I also think that you could even call the Vikings a big. I don't know about the rest of their picks, but you call them a big first round winner because
they got Dallas Turner too, right?
Exactly. And those are, from what I understand, the top 2 guys on the board for them. And so they wanted to they were considering even trading up to number 3 to make sure they got McCarthy, which I wouldn't have done, but that's what they were trying to do, apparently. Right. They ended up falling to him at 9, and then their second best player on the board, Dallas Turner, which I was shocked fell that far.
Yeah, there was
ends up being there, and they come flying up to get him. So
what pick did they get him at? 15?
Something along
16
those lines.
or 15.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure a defensive player did not go in the top 14 picks.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I think Dallas Turner was actually the first defensive player.
I think they took the kid from UCLA first. Someone did.
Oh, the edge rusher?
Yeah.
Maybe he was 15 and then I think that's what I think he was 15. Dallas Turner went 16.
The edge rusher that was supposed to be medically retired from football that they ended up.
What happened with that?
It was a bad neck injury apparently.
Okay. So he was like supposed to not never play football again, correct?
I believe so, from what I understand. So.
But you're right. Latu, which he has almost the same first name as he does last name. From UCLA edge rusher, he did go 15 to the Colts, and then 16 was Byron Murphy, 17 was Dallas Turner. That was how it played out. But, yeah, weirdly enough, there was no defensive players taken in the top 14 picks until Latu got picked by the Colts. I would say in terms of players who ended up in a great position in the early rounds, that I agree with McCarthy 100%, but I think the best was Xavier Worthy, the wide receiver out of Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Who
gets to go with Mahomes.
Yeah, he went late in the first round. He gets to go with Mahomes. He ran a 4.2 140 in the combine. I believe it was like the fastest since 2002, something ridiculous like that. Absolute speed demon, track guy. Similar to Tyreek Hill, right? Like that's a comparison you could make in terms of style, right? He's not nearly as good, obviously, but nobody thought Tyreek Hill was going to be what he was when he came in the league. And, Worthy's kind of small, not as small as Tyreek Hill, I don't think, but he's kind of small. He had some drop issues as a junior or in his second to last year, but he was much better in his final year. I think he's really good. That works out really well for the Chiefs. I think they're going to be able to utilize him a ton of different ways. The way Andy Reid uses speed guys. I think they drafted Sky Moore a couple years back. Kind of thought he would be that piece. He didn't really pan out, and they're going to go with this guy, and now they're going to try and use him in that position. Lots of end arounds, kind of like who's the super fast receiver that they like to use on end arounds? I forget. Is it what do they use? Tony?
Rice, Sky Moore, who?
No, maybe it was Kadarius Toney. Regardless, the Chiefs love speed. He gets to go, like, if you're a receiver, could you end up in a better spot? Like,
no,
you can't. So to me, that's going to be great for Xavier Worthy. He'll probably be a guy who plays a good amount as a rookie. The Chiefs aren't afraid to play guys who are young.
No.
And, I thought that was a good pick. And I thought this was a super deep draft in terms of receivers. And that guy is a talent-wise guy who could have been a top 15, top 10 pick in other years. And this was such a deep draft.
We both like, speaking of other receivers, is something I thought was funny. We both like Keon Coleman.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Did you see his interview with the Bills? Hysterical. He was wearing like this big, it's Buffalo. So he's wearing this like giant puff, like jacket. And they were like, what is that? Is that like designer? And he's like, oh, no, hell no. These are $89 at so-and-so. I'm going to get myself one every color because it's cold up here in Buffalo. And he was just talking about basically like saving money, and it was like, this is refreshing to hear that Keon Coleman, all this money's going straight to the bank.
I like him.
Someone was talking. Yeah, he seems like a good guy. He was excited. It seemed like he was excited to go to Buffalo. And I think that could be a really
great pick.
Yeah, great pick. You got Josh Allen throwing in the ball. He fell in the draft. He fell out of the first round because he wasn't too fast in his 40. But, man, he's got game speed. He gets away from people. He's a really good receiver.
Yeah.
I was shocked that I think up until the draft and like when he ran, I guess I think everybody thought he was going to be a first round pick. And essentially he was the first pick of the second round because the Bills traded back. So
they were good, but still we were watching together, and I remember you mentioned him like late in the first round, and we were both like, oh, we're at pick like 25. He must have another year of eligibility. He must have not been able to declare for the draft yet. There's no way he didn't get drafted if he's eligible. And then we looked, and he was a projected second round pick, and he had a bad combine. I guess people put a lot of stock in that. I don't quite agree. I think both of us throughout the collegiate season thought he was probably the best receiver in college football, at least for a stretch. He's big, he's strong, he makes contested catches. He's not if you're looking at it from a physical, like speed and athleticism standpoint, he's not a top 3 receiver in this class. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a freak. Neighbors is a freak. But this guy, like you said, he's a phenomenal receiver. And I agree. That is an absolute steal for the Bills at 33.
Yeah, and they had to have something. They had to have somebody.
They lost Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. And, usually you pick that late. You're not expecting to get a guy who's going to be maybe like a number 1 or 2 option. And he probably will be. But they've got a good tight end that they drafted last year.
Dalton Kincaid's great.
Kincaid. And so you pair some young guys, and maybe with Josh Allen, they end up being really, really good little duo there. Okay, moving on to the negatives. Biggest loser of the draft. Go ahead.
It's the obvious one. We both had him, obviously, but the Atlanta pick is just such a head scratcher to me. And there have been people in the last 24 hours, 48 hours coming out trying to defend it and make sense of it. And I hear the arguments and stuff. I just can't get around, like you mentioned. Michael Penix is 24 years old.
That's the craziest point to me.
He's 24, and he's been injured every year or every other year. 2 torn ACLs, a bad shoulder, and it's like you just signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year deal. So, like we said, so you're saying Michael Penix is going to be a 28-year-old rookie? I think when you think about it a little bit more, obviously these guys I think are going to try to have Kirk Cousins for 2 years and bail on him and have Penix. I'm not sold on Penix. I think he's fine. I just would, when you just sign someone for whatever it was, $180 million, I'm making up the numbers. Is that the Cousins deal? Something along those lines.
4 years, $180 million.
Yeah. Okay, so you pay a guy that, first of all, which was a stupid fucking contract to begin with, because the guy's coming off an Achilles injury, right? And he's 30-something years old.
36, I think.
Yeah, so
35.
who knows how that's going to go. That was a wild contract. And then I don't know if the GM or whoever it was thought, well, maybe that wasn't the greatest contract. We're going to go draft Michael Penix. I have no idea. They said, hey, he's our second-rated quarterback on the board. We're going to take him here, this, that, and the other. The team had other needs. I just don't get drafting a 24-year-old who's been injured a lot when you just signed another quarterback for 4 years. And the argument, the counter-argument is, okay, well, when Cousins is done, he'll be ready. And yeah, 28's a little bit old, right? Whatever. He'll be 28 and this and that, but he'll learn. And there's no doubt that Cousins will go down at some point and he'll get a little experience. And they're like, you get a quarterback for cheap. Well, no, you don't, because he's there for 5. At the end of that, if he's any good, he's going to want, God knows what the going rate for a quarterback's going to be there.
Yep.
So it's not like you're getting this guy who's 24 that's going to come in right away with a good team and play, and you have him like Brock Purdy for Brock Purdy's obviously cheaper, but have him for basically nothing on the rookie deal, right? If he ends up being good and he starts 3 years down the line or whatever it is, after 2 years later, he'll get a new contract.
Yeah,
so it's just like you don't. The theory is taking a quarterback, hoping they're good. You have a Super Bowl window maybe where you don't have to pay a quarterback. You can spend money elsewhere, kind of like early on with the Cowboys with Dak or Brock Purdy now, or guys that you think are good enough to win a Super Bowl without being on the quarterback max deal. Penix. I tried to make sense of it. I just can't. I think it's a terrible pick. I don't know why. I mean, this is the same GM that, passed on Bill Belichick because he didn't want Bill Belichick stepping on his toes and went out and hired Raheem.
Terry Fontenot.
Yeah, and hired, what's his name?
Raheem Morris.
Raheem Morris.
I mean,
I don't know.
It's been...
poor, I mean, I don't really want to say poor Arthur Blank or whatever the owner's name is, because it's just like, you gotta figure it out. And I don't know if it was your dad. Someone had told me, I think it was actually my brother, and he's usually okay. He claims that Bob Kraft called the owner and said that Bill Belichick was a pain in the ass. Is that true?
That's what I've heard from multiple shows
sources
have talked
said
about that.
Yeah, I don't know, which is crazy to me.
Because it does make sense though in the way it played out, because it seemed like Arthur Blank was going to hire Bill Belichick, and in which case they would then fire Terry Fontenot.
Yeah.
And then it seemed like it was going to happen. Like, it seemed very, very likely. I think the odds in Vegas had it as a big favorite for him to get the job.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, they say they're not hiring him. And the difference was, I believe, is that, because that makes sense. Why would it turn on a dime? And if you watch the Patriots Dynasty documentary that came out, it's a lot of Bob Kraft shitting on Bill Belichick. Now,
and the players have come out and defended Belichick, right? Some of them, or no?
Yes, a lot of players have come out and defended him. That said, a lot of the players who were in the documentary that were his guys did not. They were shitting on him in the documentary. So it works both ways. I think a lot of people are kind of defending him because, they are shitting on him and he's such a great coach. But I mean, if you watch that documentary, and I don't know, maybe I don't really know if it's resonating with people, but my takeaway of a lot of the stuff he did was, he's kind of an asshole. Like, for example, the whole Deflategate thing was with Tom Brady. Like, when he went out on the press conference and basically just threw Tom Brady under the bus completely. Like, shit like that's hard to argue against. Like, he's just that type of guy. Or, for example, and I don't want to get into politics or anything, but just a lot of players in the NFL don't like Donald Trump. And Bill Belichick had written a letter to Donald Trump, and Trump asked if he could read it at one of his speeches. And it basically was like, you're great, you deserve to win, la la la. And all the players who were on the documentary were like, we were told for years to shut our mouths and just play football. And we had stuff we wanted to say, but we didn't say it because out of respect for Bill, and that's the way we do things here. Right. And then he comes out and does that, and it felt like we got blindsided by that. And so it's little shit like that.
And I think, in the society we live in these days, it's just crazy. But it's like, listen, it's okay that a football coach is an asshole. Sometimes sometimes you need your football coach to be a little bit of an asshole.
100%.
Okay?
It obviously worked.
And it's like with Vrabel, where it's like, oh yeah, the front offices, they say he's intimidating and stuff like that. It's like, that's what you want in a head football coach.
Yeah.
You don't want, you got to be your best friend. You want to be walking on, like Edelman talks about Belichick. He's like, oh yeah, man. He's like, oh yeah, we knew that if we fucked up, man, the film, it was going to be going. He was going to rewind it like 8 times where you just missed your assignment. And
yeah.
Like, so what are you fucking doing here? And just like berating them in the film rooms. Like, that's what you need in an NFL football coach, okay?
They talk about that.
Not the, I want to be your best friend.
Right.
Like, it's like, we want you walking, we want you, to be a little comfortable, but, not like, hey, how's it, patting your head coach on the ass, asking him how his weekend was. You want to be a little bit afraid of your head coach.
Well,
in my opinion.
I think football's different than basketball.
Sure. Yeah, but the basketball guys can't. Basketball guys can't handle that.
And the NBA is soft, but I just mean in general. Like, I think about my experience even in back when coaches were, it was okay to be an asshole. Not that I'm that old, but even back in like the 2010s, right?
Yeah.
Like early, like 2000. I was in high school 2009 to 2012 or 2008 to 2012, and it felt like being scared of my coach made it hard to play with confidence.
Yeah.
But football is a little different because it's less. I don't want to say it's not less skill game, but it's more based on just athleticism. If you're mentally afraid to make a shot or to miss a shot, it's going to hurt you in basketball a lot. But anyway, yeah, that dynasty that was showing that Tom Brady, like he would shit on Tom Brady that same way. Like, Brady, what the fuck is this? Our quarterback can't throw the ball 4 fucking yards. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's what when you're a coach, giving the best player on earth shit, like just like you do to everybody else. I just think it's just a dying breed, right? He worked under Parcells. Parcells was that way. It's like there's guys that were like that, and then now that's pretty much there's maybe handful of guys like that in the NFL. Trying to think about it now is like there's Vrabel who's out of work. He will be back in work. I'm trying to think of any, Dan Campbell is a hard ass, but I wouldn't necessarily say that he's a complete dick to guys in the film room probably. But there's very few just kind of hard-nosed football coaches out there anymore.
I agree with you on that.
You're dealing with like the
Sean
McVay and Ben Johnson's going to be a head coach.
Kevin
O'Connell. The guys that are not like, you're not scared to show up and make a mistake.
No,
right? So,
no. And there's a balance for sure.
For sure is. You want to happen. That's why I think Dan Campbell's perfect. Yeah, as far as actual like leading a group of men. Now the decisions he makes obviously are questionable sometimes. I love him because he's such a lunatic. But if I was the fan base, I'd be like, can we just kick the extra point, Dan? I know you told him 25 minutes ago we're going to go down and go for the win, but it's now
we're on the
goal to go from
line.
the 13-yard line. Dan, can we let's just send this thing into overtime, right? So I mean, I think there's a happy balance, but I think that he's a guy that it's like, a lot of those guys really enjoy playing for because he's been there, done that, kind of earned his, stripes out there, and now is coaching. So
yeah. But yeah, I agree though on the Penix thing. I think that was a terrible pick, and especially because the biggest need for the Falcons was defensive end and defensive tackle. And the way it played out, the top 7 picks were all offensive guys. So you had a choice there of your pick of the litter of the top defensive tackle, the top edge rusher.
Yep.
And it just, to me, makes absolutely zero sense that you don't go get one of those guys like Latu, or you go out and get Dallas Turner.
Yeah.
I mean, those two guys, Byron Murphy, if you want interior lineman, he's a game changer. I think he's phenomenal. I wanted the Cowboys to draft him. I'll touch on that in a second. But that's what got me is like, you not only do it with Kirk Cousins, take the Kirk Cousins deal and then draft Michael Penix Jr. You not only draft a guy who has had tons of injury issues in his career, right? Tore 2 ACLs, has had shoulder issues, is banged up. Like last year was the first full season he played, I think, in his whole college career, and he was still injured most of the year. And then he's 24 years old, like you mentioned. And the last part about him is that, like, why not just trade back at that point?
Well, they were convinced that either Minnesota or Denver could take him. That's like they were convinced. I mean, they thought
But Minnesota the whole time was on McCarthy, and everyone knew that. So, that was a set one. They were going to take McCarthy there. And then you look at the other way, the other guy was Bo Nix. So the only option would be, okay, the Broncos take Bo Nix.
Yeah.
I mean, take Michael Penix instead of Bo Nix. I just don't see it. Like, I get it. It's a risk, but I just don't see it. You could have traded back to 11 if you were really, really worried about the Broncos. I don't know why you would have been worried about the Vikings. The Vikings were taking McCarthy. They were, like you said, they were talking about trading up to get him. Like, and also, nobody had McCarthy below Penix. Right? Nobody had Penix above McCarthy except Terry Fontenot, who, is the GM of the Falcons and really should be a fucking GM of a 7-Eleven. That guy's a fucking moron. But Penix was the 6th rated quarterback. We talked about this. He should have gone if it was last year, he was a 4th or 3rd round pick. And even going into the playoffs, it was like a question mark of what he was. Has one good game against Texas. Everybody says, he could be a top 10 pick, and then has a terrible game against the best defense he played all year. Just shit all over himself and said, maybe he's a late 1st round, 2nd round pick. Ends up going 8th. Terrible, terrible pick. Okay, my biggest loser real quick, Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, have to talk about the Cowboys. We already know what they did in free agency, which if you haven't followed one thing this entire
got breaking
NFL,
news today, though.
If you haven't followed one thing the entire NFL offseason, you know what they did in free agency because they didn't do anything. But yes, breaking news. They go out and get Ezekiel Elliott today.
He's back, baby.
He's back. Zeke's back. Where's my Zeke bobblehead?
I don't know. He's back.
Let's get Zeke up here, okay? My boy. Back a little further. Right here. My boy Zeke. All right. Zeke's back. Did you know this? Zeke, in his, I forget if it's 8 or 9 years, in his 8-year career, his rushing yards have decreased every single year of his career.
Yeah.
From the rookie year down, he has gone lower and lower and lower every single year.
I definitely believe it.
So, nice pickup for the Cowboys there, getting an old washed running back out of his prime. Now, we got him for the veteran minimum, whatever.
Yeah.
But, look, Cowboys are absolutely one of the biggest losers. Now, I don't think the draft picks themselves were terrible. Like, for example, okay, let's just go over what they did. 24th overall pick, we're sitting there. I think we both like Graham Barton. A lot of people thought he was the best center in the draft. The Cowboys' weakest part of their offensive line for 4 years has been Tyler Biadasz. Ever since Travis Frederick had the disease or whatever where he was forced to retire, that's been our weak spot. You talked about it. We talked about it on draft day, how important having a good center is. He's right there. It's just obvious. And then when the Eagles don't draft him after trading up, it's like, okay, thank God he's still going to be there. And then, of course, we trade back trying to get cute, thinking, we can just trade back and we'll get him anyway. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go and scoop him up at 25.
Yep.
We don't get him. So then we end up taking Tyler Guyton out of OU. He's a right tackle who I think a lot of people are hoping can transition to the left tackle, but it seems like that's not going to be an immediate thing. We lost Tyron Smith to the Jets. Tyler Smith, our guard, can move to left tackle if we need him to, but it just, look, you didn't need a tackle as bad as you needed a center. The best center on the board was there. Instead, we get the 6th best tackle. So we address an area of lesser need with a worse player. It just doesn't make sense to me. Yes, is left tackle more important than center in the grand scheme of things? Absolutely. Obviously, with a right-handed quarterback. But I just don't know why you take a guy who's going to be a developmental piece and take a couple years to be a really good left tackle and pass on the center. Then, if you look at the rest of the draft, I like a few things we did. We got Cooper Beebe from K-State. I believe he's an interior offensive lineman.
They say they're moving him to center.
Yeah, and so people like him. They think he's not bad. He's probably a guy who'll have a chance to start, but he's not like a phenomenal player. He went in the 3rd round.
Yep.
The worst one for me, I didn't hate that pick. I liked that pick.
Yeah, I think I remember him being good. I don't know a lot about him. But
yeah, and K-State's had a good offensive line. He's been solid on there for a while, but the one to me that just didn't make any sense was, okay, to me, the biggest 2 areas to address other than center were defensive tackle. We were the worst run defense in the league, or one of them. I mean, we watched them play the Bills that game where literally the Bills lined up and ran it down their throat. And Cowboys knew they were going to run it, and they ran for 250 yards like in the first half. It was embarrassing.
Yep.
Same thing in the playoff game. Aaron Jones ran for $125, ran all over them, right? Like, that is a huge issue. We drafted and we completely missed on Maze Smith in the first round last year from Michigan. I wanted us to trade up and get Byron Murphy. Maybe that was unrealistic. Regardless, we don't take a defensive tackle until the 7th fucking round. I don't get it. The 7th fucking round is the first place we get a defensive tackle when that's one of the biggest areas of need. And then instead, in the 2nd round, when right there sitting is Blake Corum, right? Trey Benson, the 2 next best running backs. Okay, we could take a defensive tackle. We could take either of those 2 running backs when we need a good running back. Rico fucking Dowdle is not the goddamn starter.
Rico.
Okay, not happening.
Rolling with Rico.
No. Rico fucking Dowdle. And we pass on them and we take Marshawn Nealand. Marshawn Nealand out of Western Michigan, who is a defensive end when we have led the league in pressure rate the last 3 years. Why are we drafting a defensive end? We don't need that. Number one. Number two, he was 3rd team all MAC. 3rd team all fucking MAC. And 2 edge rushers make it on the 1st and the 2nd team.
No,
he's the 5th best player or 6th best edge rusher in the fucking MAC.
When they drafted him, I was watching with my brother, and he goes, "I've actually seen the highlights on him." He goes, "He's pretty good, and he dominated the Senior Bowl apparently." And then it flashed up. It was either 2nd or 3rd team MAC, and I go, "Dude, he wasn't even 1st team MAC."
It was
and he
3rd
goes,
team.
He goes, "That's a good point." He's like, "Yeah, he may have been good in the Senior Bowl, but if he wasn't even 1st or 2nd team MAC, yeah, it's actually a pretty good point."
Pretty bad woof there. You know, we let Tony Pollard go. You have a chance to take, I think Blake Corum is a good, pretty decent back. Trey Benson from Florida State was pretty darn good this year. I would have gone with running back. I would have taken a young running back. You get him for cheap. It's in the 2nd round. You have a young, hungry guy trying to make a name for himself. Instead, we're going to go with Rico fucking Dowdle, and I can never say Rico Dowdle. It has to be Rico fucking Dowdle. And then Ezekiel Elliott, okay? We go with those 2 guys as our starting 2 running backs. I mean, just absolutely horrible.
Zeke's back, baby.
Don't draft a single running back in 8 picks. Take a defensive tackle in the 7th round. Don't get the center that we need. Just Jerry Jones said that he compared his draft strategy to robbing a bank. That's how good it was. I mean, if he robbed something, it was a 7-Eleven at 3 a.m, and he got $6 worth of fucking Snickers bars. That is the robbery Jerry Jones pulled off in the fucking draft. It was horrible. It really was. I mean, and this is not anything surprising, right? I mean, look at what they've done. Jerry's all in to win now. And we have no free agents and a terrible draft.
It certainly doesn't seem that way, right?
I don't understand it. I really don't. Okay. I got that out of my system.
Well, lower the blood pressure.
All right, I have a interesting scenario for you, okay? Ready? Bailey, you think about this one too. All right, so we got all the quarterbacks drafted in this 2024 draft, right? We're going to take them, and we're going to put them on a deserted island. We're going to have a Hunger Games 2024 NFL Draft Quarterback Edition. All right, they're going to fight to the death. There's only one survivor. You, Uncle T, have to pick the survivor, or you die too. If you don't pick the guy who survives, you die too. I want to know which NFL quarterback would survive in a Hunger Games situation on a deserted island of the drafted 2024 prospects.
Are they like just killing themselves, or are they hunting and like trying to live? So I guess my question is, Hunger Games, is it like Battle Royale, or is it like Alone, where they have on Nat Geo, where you just got to survive?
No, look, there's a deserted island. Okay. And there's wild animals.
Okay.
And there's traps all around.
Okay.
And like there's somebody controlling shit to like make it bad weather and shit. Like you're in a controlled environment that somebody is fucking with, like the Hunger Games. And you are trying to be the last one to survive. So however you do that, only one person is surviving. You're stuck on the island until everybody's dead but you. So ideally you could play it one of two ways. You could try to just wait it out and survive everybody else, or you could go out and try to kill people. But you can use weapons, you can kill whoever you want. But you're not off the deserted island until you are the last one standing. So
I'll take Bo Nix.
Okay, that's not a bad pick. He was my second choice.
He's from Alabama.
Why?
He's from Alabama. He's a country boy. He probably makes homemade weapons or something.
So you think,
he's like, my whole thing is like, he being from the country, living out there in the elements, camping, hunting, fishing, whatever it is. He's got a good rapport with the outdoors, and I don't know. And he's a little bit older, 24. I think he'd kill Caleb Williams in about. I don't even know if we can say that on YouTube.
No, we can't.
He would kill. Yeah, he would get rid of Caleb Williams first, and then go from there.
If we can't, my notes are going to be out the window.
Yeah.
So wait, do you have any concern about Bo Nix? Lack of dealing with cold weather, right? Like he's not going to be playing. He wasn't playing football in like 10-degree temperatures ever. Is he really all that adept with snow? Is he going to be okay if it snows there?
Well, I don't know how it's going to snow on an
Look,
island.
I have a control.
What the
I can
fuck
make
are we talking about, dude?
I told you I can make it snow or do whatever the fuck I want.
Bo Nix is going to be fine. All right, give me Bo. You can have whoever you want. I'll take Bo.
We got to go through this.
Bo
this is an important question to ponder. First off, you're right. Caleb Williams would die in the first 4 minutes, okay? He'd be painting his fucking nails and get eaten by a coyote, or someone would stab him from behind. Like, he's going to be dead. He's the first one out. He's minus 1,000.
Eaten by a coyote?
He'd be minus.
I don't think that's going to happen. But
I can put whatever fucking animals I want on this island.
Coyotes don't. Okay, yeah, anyway. Wolf.
They're rabid.
Eaten by a wolf.
Okay.
But anyway, let's go. I digress. Let's move on.
Let me finish my take here, okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Caleb Williams, first one dead, minus 1,000 odds, 100%. Now, and you can bet on this too. Jaden Daniels, I like that he's super fast. So, if he's trying to elude people that are trying to stab him, or, if he's trying to run away from a rabid animal, I like that he's got the elusive speed. That's a plus. But the minus is that if he gets into a physical wrestling match to the death with somebody, he's small. And so probably not going to survive like Drake May or Bo Nix, not even J.J. McCarthy. Penix would probably just hide, so he would have a shot to survive. But probably what would happen is once he got a kill, he would celebrate so much that somebody would come right from behind and take him out instantly. So he's dead. Drake May, way too slow. Just you got to have some speed, right? Cerebral guy, takes too many chances. Lots of interceptions this year. I could see him going for a bad stab or an axe toss.
Miss with his shank.
Yeah, and then he just doesn't have a weapon. I think he just takes too many ill-advised risks. So he's out. So that leaves to me, and I'm not really looking at the deep around guys, like Spencer Rattler would last 30 seconds. J.J. McCarthy and Bo Nix is who it would come down to, in my opinion. And I like Bo Nix. He's efficient, not a lot of mistakes, but so is J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy's a Michigan man. He's smart, right? He's going to have a plan. He's going to make an alliance with Bo Nix till they're the last two, and then he's going to poison his drink like in the last day, and that's how Bo will die.
That's how Bo's going to go.
He's just he's kind of underrated. You wouldn't think J.J. McCarthy is probably like plus 1,000 odds to win the whole thing, but he's going to come out of nowhere. He doesn't turn the ball over, not going to make mistakes. Plays in cold weather. He can play in wherever. I like McCarthy. I think he's the pick here. But
okay, McCarthy or Bo Nix. Yeah, we're splitting hairs if we're going either way. I'm going with Bo, but yeah, I mean it could go either way.
Yeah,
I don't think. I'm trying to think if it's just the first round quarterbacks.
Or the other guy. I don't know who the other guys who else drafted.
Even went.
It was. I know Spencer Rattler. Let's see, NFL quarterbacks drafted in 2024.
Oh, the guy from Tulane's an interesting one.
Michael Pratt. He get drafted?
Yeah.
Who did he go to?
Don't know, but he got drafted.
Jordan Travis?
I saw the phone call. Yeah, Jordan Travis went late to God, who was it? Let's look.
Michael Pratt got drafted. Let's see. Did Gavin Hardinson? He was from UTEP. Your boy is from UTEP. Gavin Hardinson did he get drafted? Yep, by the Miami Dolphins.
He's a quarterback?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, he's undrafted, but they signed him. The Saints.
They took Rattler.
Oh, the Saints. Yeah, the Saints are the ones who took Spencer Rattler.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're getting to the deep part here. If we're going to add in like these guys too, I don't have as good of an in-depth breakdown
of them.
So maybe we should just stick with the top guys.
Yeah. Anyway, I like Bo Nix. You like McCarthy. I would say the battle royale would come down to those two.
Okay, quick question, then we'll move on from this, but I think it's important to talk about. If you were to put them, let's say we change the elements here. You have only your bare hands. They're in the octagon. Maybe we'll make the octagon 4 times as big. So, but like an octagon, a mega octagon, cage is enclosed, and they only have their bare hands, would you stick with Bo Nix? Those 6 guys.
I might go Jaden Daniels.
Why just outrun everybody?
Yeah, you get away, and then when someone else is fighting, come in with like a Superman punch and try to kill somebody or something. I don't know. Yeah, maybe Jaden Daniels in the cage, but I think Bo Nix outside, outdoors. I like Bo.
I don't know. I actually might go with Bo or Drake May in there just because I think that they're going to use their weight in the octagon to, like, on top of people and choke them out. But
that would...
That's
Jaden. Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how big they are.
Could Jaden Daniels kill a man with his bare hands? Is the question? Because if he
I don't think any of them could.
Oh, come on. Oh, Drake May, come on. Bo Nix.
Drake May.
Bo Nix could skin a man alive. Okay,
maybe Bo. No way, Drake May. I have no faith in Drake.
Did you see, before we move on to the NFL or the NBA? I want to talk a few more things. Did you see the thing with David Tepper, where
everybody's saying, like, the signs that say,
they had
coach draft.
This guy was the owner of the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Matt Wolfarth, and he posted out there, please let the GM and coach pick this year after his horrible draft trade last year, which they could have gotten Caleb Williams this year. Instead, they get Bryce Young last year, who I think the jury's still out, but it doesn't look good.
No, doesn't look great.
And, lose multiple draft picks. And then but what was the funniest part about this is he's done this before. He posted something out there a couple months back that said meddling owners never win. And apparently both times Tepper came into the restaurant. And I guess he's eaten there before.
Or like lives close or something. Yeah.
They said like he's been to the restaurant before, like to eat, but he came in and they have like an actual surveillance video from the restaurant of this most recent one. And it's like the two restaurant hosts right there, and they're like, who posted the sign out there? We want to know. And they're like asking, and they're like, oh, it's the owner. He's gone for the day or whatever. And you see it's like Tepper and his little crony over here, and they legitimately did not look happy. They kind of end up like kind of joking at because they didn't do anything, the hosts or whatever. But I wonder what the conversation's like with the owner. Like, he's really that mad? You're a billionaire owner of an NFL franchise, and somebody posts in their restaurant a thing that says, don't draft, please let other people pick, and you're going to come in and get mad? What a fucking piece of shit.
Listen, I don't know if it's true or not, but Big Cat's mentioned on their show that they were just talking about Tepper being an absolute maniac, and I don't know how true the story is, but it's something along the lines, you probably find it online, that he bought, like, he bought his boss's old home and just bulldozed it.
Are you kidding?
And then, like, built something on top of it that was, like, 10 times bigger or something. Yeah. Like, bulldozed his old boss's home or something. That, like, he's a lunatic.
Dude, he's a psychopath.
Love him. Throwing drinks on people in the stands.
I do not love him. I can't stand him.
Oh, he's a complete idiot.
He's a
but
fucking
great.
moron. I want two more things real quick.
Yeah.
NFL protective caps. This came out this week. That's why I mention it. They are going to now allow those. They're like those protective caps that go over the helmet, and they're supposed to reduce head injuries. I believe like studies have said. This is one article I read. So I could be off here, but reduces a head-to-head collision, like the chance of a major head injury, by 20% if both of them. Oh, up to maybe more, at least 20%.
Yeah.
If both guys are wearing it, if one of the guys wearing it, it's about 10%. Should everybody wear these?
I mean, I'm not going to say yes because my brother would kill me. Seems like it makes sense. My brother's old school, 90s college football when they played on AstroTurf and their helmets didn't really work. And everybody was like, that's back in the day where they would take 15-yard penalties and try to, like, knock the best player unconscious on the other team so they could play. It's back when football was football. It's like if their best player was returning punts, they had to change the rule that it would be an ejection because back when my brother played, they would run full speed down, lower the crown of their helmet, and try to decapitate them.
Oh, my God, dude.
Yeah. That's when football was football.
I love it.
So, no. But you know what? Protective helmets are no from me.
Oh, man.
Yeah. No,
hot take here.
I mean, reality, it's a yes.
Fuck player safety.
That's right.
No,
They're gladiators out there for our entertainment. We're going to make that kind of money.
We were talking about how it's funny that they have these things and they still don't wear them because it looks funny. Like, that's a legitimate reason. And I understand, but, like, if I'm a player and I'm getting hit, especially like an offensive lineman, like, I'm fucking wearing that thing. Like, I don't want a headache. I don't want to get hit in the head every fucking play. Like, if that's going to make me feel better, sure. They need to figure out a way to have designs on them or come up with a new helmet. Like you mentioned this, where it'd be like built into the helmet or something. But
yeah,
they need some sort of.
They do. They definitely do look weird, but they do help. So that's ideal.
All right, we can move on. NBA playoffs, and we'll start with. I guess let's start with the Lakers because they're the most compelling team. Lakers Nuggets. Teams are 0-151 when facing an 0-3 deficit in NBA playoff history. The Lakers were down 0-3. They were able to win Game 4 on their home court. Do they have a shot to even actually come back in this series and make it interesting?
Well, they obviously, it's 0 and whatever you just said, 150. So no, because the Nuggets are the better team too. But the only interesting thing is I'm reading here that Murray's questionable for Game 5.
Wow.
If he didn't play in Game 5 and was just completely out and they won that game, well, then things could, of course, get interesting.
Right.
The Lakers have led in every single one of the games.
Yeah.
So, I mean, things could get interesting. I don't think they will. I mean, the only thing that I will say is when you finally beat a team, it is weird that mentally it's like, oh, we actually can beat these guys. That happens. Do I think they're going to beat the Nuggets 3 more times in a row? No.
Right.
With or without Murray. Like, if Murray didn't play the rest of the series, they're still not winning 3 in a row.
And I don't think they're not as good as they were last year, talking about the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Murray has been significantly worse so far in the playoffs, and they don't have a lot of depth. So, although I don't think Murray's been good, in which case you would think, okay, does losing him hurt that much? But they're just they just have such a lack of depth. Like Reggie Jackson's their backup point guard. Like, come on, that's just not going to happen. But yeah, you're right. Like, not only have they led in every game, they've led at halftime in, I believe, all 4 games, and then they've led by double digits at halftime in 2 of the 4 games.
Led by 20 in Game 2.
Yep, led by 20 in Game 2. Lost that one on like a crazy ending where they should have won. So, yeah, I mean, looking at it from last game, like at the box score here, the one positive, like the Lakers did outshoot the Nuggets. I think the difference was the Nuggets. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at Game 1, but the Nuggets didn't play with like a fire to close out that series, which was weird to me. I haven't seen them do that in the last 2 years in the playoffs. They normally are like killers. Like they're going to go out there and try to close it out. They're not perfect. They didn't sweep every series last year, but you just think you beat this team 11 times in a row. You got them on the ropes, and then it wasn't like the Lakers played good, don't get me wrong, but there was 2 stretches, beginning of the third and beginning of the fourth quarter, where the Lakers got cold for like a 4-minute stretch, and the Nuggets just could not get back in the game.
They just didn't come back.
They just kept getting it to 8 or 10, and then it would be like, or 6, and then right back it would go to 14 or 15.
Exactly.
Looking at the stats from game 4, the Lakers outshot them by 8%. They outshot them in effective field goal percentage by 9%. They didn't get to the free throw line as much as the Nuggets, but I don't know how much of this is sustainable. Like, look at D'Angelo Russell last game.
How many did he score?
He ended up 8 of 15 from the floor, 4 of 8 from 3 with 21 points. It's just Austin Reeves, same thing, 21. Neither of those guys have been any good in this series. So like it took for them to win 21 from Reeves, 21 from Russell, 30 from LeBron, 25 and 23 rebounds from Anthony Davis. Like that is what it took for the Lakers to win this game. And still, like, it wasn't dead over with 5 minutes to go.
No,
like,
they were up 10. They were up 10, but then the Nuggets even made like a little bit of a run late to get it down to like 6 or 7.
Right.
So
So
no, I mean
Denver won the second half by 2. By the way.
Yeah, you would definitely think the Nuggets will close that out in Game 5 if Murray plays. But the was Chuck talking about the Pelicans when he was talking about Galveston? Did I send you that clip?
I saw them talking about it on there.
I think that's who it was, because the Pelicans are, going to get swept tonight probably.
More than likely, yes.
And they were talking about that series. He's like, they don't even deserve Cancun.
I saw that.
They can drive from New Orleans to Galveston.
I saw that.
And then
night.
Beyonce's mom went after him, and he's like, I'm sorry.
I think we were watching that together yesterday.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
That was actually hilarious.
And then Shaq and them were like, get him. They're cracking up.
That really is, in all honesty, the best sports show around.
For sure.
Like, not just even like, not even just like, if you look at like podcasts and shit, just in terms of entertainment, I would rather like, and I don't like listening to people talk about a game that I just watched all the time. Like, I don't love it in other games. Like, I will sometimes, but I like watching post game interviews and things like that. But they are so entertaining that I would rather watch that than my preferred method of watching, which is a podcast the next day.
I would rather watch. Like I said to you, there's times I don't watch the NBA at all, and I'll just tune into those guys. And I'll go over the highlights and just talk shit to each other. They're the best.
They were shitting on Kenny last night. I'll get to it in a second because they were talking about Kawhi, but it's just funny when it's actually really entertaining when they team up against Kenny. That's the most fun part because they always fuck with Chuck. That's just what happens. But it's funny when Kenny gets mad because Shaq and Charles rarely agree with each other and Kenny disagrees, and that's what happened last night. But let's just keep it in the West for a second because I want to talk a potential matchup. And so obviously, let's touch on what happened first, which is the Suns getting swept last night. And that's the first series to end. Look, it's not surprising in the least bit that the T-Wolves won the series. I think it was a pretty even odds in terms of who would win the series. I think they were both minus 110 or it was something around there. We both, I believe, picked the Suns, and then after game one, we both flipped immediately, and we're like, okay, this is a bad matchup.
Easy to do, but it's the
no,
Suns,
but they won the first game at home. I mean, it's not like they were in total control.
Well,
but
it was just, for me, it was one of those deals because the Suns swept the regular season, right? So it just seemed like mentally they couldn't beat them, and then
that's what I thought.
Watch that, and you're like, oh shit, they're gonna beat the hell out of them.
And I don't want to say that, I don't put a lot of stock in the regular season all that often.
Yeah,
but I thought it was telling where Karl Anthony Towns was back. You had the last game of the regular season, and Minnesota played Phoenix. Phoenix and Minnesota both had something to play for, so it was a playoff-like atmosphere.
Yeah.
Phoenix is trying to stay out of the play-in game. Minnesota's trying to get the number 1 seed, and they beat them, and it wasn't close. I watched the game, and Minnesota was trying a lot of different things. They were very much trying to win that game, and they got smacked. So watching that game, I was thinking, okay, maybe there is something to the regular season in this case because that was a meaningful game. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the case because of one thing, and his name is Anthony Edwards, and the guy is fucking incredible.
He's easily become my, I could give a shit about the NBA, but he's easily become my favorite player in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean,
Wemby, obviously, with him being the Spurs, is number 1, but Anthony Edwards is number 2, and even Shaq and Chuck were talking about it. It's so refreshing to just see someone that's has the mentality of Kobe and MJ, where it's I just want to kill what's in front of me. I just want to, whatever. And that dunk he threw down at the end of the game last night was absolutely ridiculous. They were they said that he might be, they were he's probably the greatest in-game dunker ever as far as
incredible.
I mean, at least, top 3. It's early in his career, but it's he threw one down in San Antonio when I was at the game, the only Spurs game I went to all year, where someone missed a 3 and he came flying in on a tip slam and dunked it over Wemby and whoever was in the game, and everybody was oh my God, gasping for air. And he was laughing. He had that other highlight reel block where he hit his head on the rim to save the game.
Yeah, I remember that. That was crazy.
Yeah, he's awesome, and he plays so hard.
He plays super hard.
And I wouldn't say that I was, dead wrong because, like I said, I don't follow the NBA enough, and people said how talented he is, but I remember we watched a lot of college basketball when he played at Georgia, and I was yeah, I mean, I get it. He's a freak athletically, but couldn't really shoot at Georgia. I mean, he was okay. He would shoot a little bit, but it's
there's guys who are like that all the time who get, touted as 1, 2, 3 top 3 picks, right?
Yeah.
And are average. You just don't know a lot of the time. I mean, I'm sure the experts who do draft analysis all the time, they have a much better idea than I do, but me watching Anthony Edwards, nothing about him screamed NBA superstar to me. I thought if you told me, would it shock me? No, because when you have that athleticism, if you work hard and you become very skilled, obviously you have a chance to be really good as opposed to somebody who's not that athletic. But yeah, I mean, these numbers are ridiculous. In a closeout game yesterday, he had 40, hit 7 3-pointers, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 blocks, a steal. In this series, he averaged 31 points. Shot over 51% from the field and over almost 44% from 3, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists.
Yeah,
I mean,
crazy.
Just phenomenal. He had one game where he scored less than 33 the whole series, and it was game 2, and they won that game pretty easily. Won it by 12 at home, and he only had 15. He didn't shoot it well, but that's his second ever playoff series, if I remember correctly. I believe that's his second ever. Last year they lost in the first round of the Nuggets, and he was good against the Nuggets last year. It's not like he had a bad series last year. He averaged 30. He averaged actually more points in last year's series than he did in this year's, 31.6. Now he wasn't as efficient, but he still is an incredible scorer. And then, interestingly enough, I saw this. because I actually saw this is the first time the T-Wolves have won a playoff series since 2004. That's shocking in itself. But the more shocking thing is this is the third ever playoff series win for the T-Wolves. In 2004, they won the first round and the second round. Then they lost in 5 games to the Lakers, who ended up going to the championship. That was when they made the Western Conference Finals. Every other year going into this year, they either missed the playoffs or lost in the first round. Every single year. That's wild for an NBA team. I think they've been around since '83.
Yep.
So I mean,
and they had Garnett. I mean, they had some. I mean, Garnett was damn good. So
yeah, I mean, you're talking 40 years. 40 years they've won 3 playoff series. So this is a special group. Obviously, Minnesota is probably the second favorite in the West behind the Nuggets, and that's what I want to lead into and talk about. The Nuggets, we're going to assume are going to beat the Lakers. We've talked about it. So this is going to be the 2-3 matchup. First of all, 2 questions, and pick whichever one you want to answer first. Do the T-Wolves have a legitimate shot to beat the Nuggets? 1. 2, does the winner of this series automatically go to the championship?
Trying to think who they'll play.
They would play the Thunder or the winner of Mavs Clippers. That would be the potential matchup.
Wait, but they wouldn't play the Nuggets until the Western Conference Finals.
No, they're playing the Nuggets next round.
I'm
saying the Western semis here, would this be
I get what you're
a
saying.
de facto Western Conference Finals?
You know, I would say no, just because the Nuggets, like you touched on, are just not quite as good this year. They're a good team. I do definitely believe that the winner of the T-Wolves and Nuggets
probably goes.
I think it's going to be the Nuggets, and I think they will go. But I wouldn't say it's just an absolute sure thing this year. I think I touched on it. We touched on it last podcast. We were talking about who we thought would have a better chance of beating, if anybody was going to beat the Nuggets, who would it be? And we said the Clippers, we thought, had the best chance, basically. And then now that we've seen the T-Wolves play this good, I think it might still be the Clippers. And the Clippers have just been average. Obviously, they won the game, was it yesterday? Yeah. Blowing a 31-point lead, losing the lead, I think, briefly, right?
We'll talk about it in a second. It was crazy.
But anyway, I like the way the T-Wolves are playing. They're playing with a lot of confidence. I don't think they beat the Nuggets, though.
Yeah.
And the Nuggets will have home court, or no?
Nuggets will have home court. They're the 2 seed. T-Wolves are the 3 seed. That's a big.
That's
advantage.
a big factor. If the T-Wolves did have home court, I would think it'd be a little bit more interesting. Denver's so good at home.
Denver's pretty damn good. I think it'll be a good series. I also think, and I talked about this at the beginning. I think I talked about this last Monday where I said for the second straight week, the Suns have a shot to win this series if Frank Vogel will go small and not play a center the entire game.
Yep.
And for the first 3 games, the entire game, he played either Eubanks or Nurkic, and they lost all 3 games, and they didn't really have a shot in any of them. Game 4, he was forced to go small, and they were much better in Game 4 and really should have won the game. They were leading late in that game. I think with 3 minutes to go, they had the lead. Gave it away.
Winning at halftime, too, right?
Yeah, I mean, they were winning the majority of the game. And here's the difference, too. Grayson Allen got injured, which you would say isn't that big of a deal. But in the sense that if you're going to go small and that's what you have to do to win this series, then he's super important because Phoenix already is really low on depth. So Eric Gordon played like 40 minutes yesterday and didn't score. I mean, it's just – and then you have like Royce O'Neal is – okay, but it's just you needed Grayson Allen in that situation. Like, I truly believe if they went small yesterday, and by the way, the only reason they went small is because Nurkic got in foul trouble in the first 2 minutes of the game, and Frank Vogel was like, fuck it, we'll try it. And it worked. They were playing much better offensively. Gobert, the T-Wolves actually had to go to a zone because Gobert can't go out in the perimeter and guard. And so my thing is the Nuggets are going to be able to expose him because you don't have to go small if you're the Nuggets. Jokic can stretch you out on his own by making threes.
Yep.
So it's just a terrible, terrible matchup for Gobert. I'm interested to see how Chris Finch adapts. By the way, did you see he tore his patellar tendon in the game yesterday? Did you see that play? The coach of the T-Wolves.
I saw that, yeah. Who went into him?
It was Bradley Beal fouled him, or Devin Booker fouled Mike Conley, and Conley fell into him. And he went down, and they had to actually carry him off the floor 3 minutes to go in the game.
I saw just a picture of it. I didn't see it actually happen.
He didn't finish coaching the game the last 2 minutes, and they obviously didn't need him at that point. They were up, I think, 6 with 2 minutes to go But actually, it was only a 4-point game. That foul extended it to 6. Regardless, I think this will be the most fun matchup of the playoffs in that round. I think Mavs-Clippers, which we can touch on right now, I guess, it has been the best, most fun series. The cool thing about Game 4 was, obviously, you touched on it, the Clippers got out to a 31-point lead. I think they scored 36 or 39 in the first quarter. Paul George went for 26 in the first half. He was unconscious. I think he hit 6 threes in the first half. Clippers get out to this massive fucking lead. But the crazy and coolest thing was the Dallas fans were going absolutely fucking nuts. Down by 20. Every time Dallas scored, every time they went on a little mini run and got it to 23-20, and the commentators were mentioning it like, wow, I've never not been able to hear my voice when a team cuts the lead to 20.
Yeah.
They were going nuts. First of all, why the fuck can't the Cowboys get that type of fan base? It's the same people, right? Like Dallas Maverick fans and Dallas Cowboy fans. And, that place was electric. And I truly believe, like, that would have been tied for the greatest comeback in NBA playoff history, 31 points. And I truly believe if you take the crowd out of there, it's not even close. Like that, they started making shots. Kyrie caught fire, and other guys started making shots. And like you said, Kyrie makes this ridiculous layup. He's guarded by 3 different dudes trying to block him with a little over 2 minutes to go, and it gives the Mavs the lead. Mark Cuban's going nuts. Everybody's going nuts. It feels like the Mavericks are going to win. And then who came out at that point?
Bearded Monster.
The Bearded Monster.
Big Dog's favorite player to ever live.
And he's been the biggest choker in NBA playoff history. He shrinks in every big moment.
Oh, God.
He's
Here
terrible, but
But
let me give him his credit. As Charles Barkley, I guess Charles Barkley learned a new term. He kept saying, give him his flowers. I got to give him his flowers. And he said it 9 times about 9 different people last night on the show. I've never heard him say it before. He must have heard somebody say it and liked it.
And then,
but
went with it.
I got to give James Harden his flowers, as Charles Barkley would say, because he was the reason they won late in the game. Paul George hit a huge 3 late in that corner, that step back one that was like behind the backboard.
Oh, yeah, that was a crazy shot.
And they were down 1 at that point. That was a massive, massive shot. That was the biggest shot of the game. But Harden made, I think, 4 floaters in the final few minutes of the game. He was phenomenal in the fourth quarter. And the Clippers win the game, and the series is even. Who wins this series? Do the Clippers carry this momentum? Does Dallas answer back? The teams seem very even.
Yeah,
with
no
Kawhi
idea who wins it. I think it's going to go 7 games. That's all I'll say. I think they're both going to split. It just says the feeling.
Okay, Switzerland, give me a pick.
I'll go. Man, it just feels like the Clippers are going to blow it.
You're probably right.
I don't know why I feel that way, but
I
it just
lean that
feels.
way too.
I mean, I feel like they. Man, you know what? I'll stick with them.
I'm
Bearded
sticking
Monster and the Clips in 7. Bearded Monster goes for 40 in Game 7.
That's not. I can
40.
Guarantee you that's not happening.
40 burger.
I can guarantee you. I would bet James Harden's under on next game. He's going to have a very bad Game 5. I guarantee you. But yeah, I'm going to stick with the Clippers. But I do agree. I have a weird feeling they're going to blow this. It just feels like it.
I guess it really technically wouldn't be blowing it. It's a 4 versus 5 matchup, and it's just all it is they have home court. So I mean, it's wouldn't be considered blowing it.
No.
I just. That team with Kawhi Leonard, I'll tell you this, if Kawhi Leonard plays, they have a worse chance.
So let's talk about this.
I mean, it's a joke. When he's on the floor, we looked it up, the one game he played, and I know plus minus doesn't mean anything, everything, but he's minus 13. The ball would go to him and play ISO ball, but he's not healthy enough to do it, so he couldn't do it. Every jump shot he had was short, because I'm sure he's worried about injuring himself like always. And then he sat out again in Game 4, correct? He didn't play yesterday.
He did not play yesterday.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just a joke.
I mean,
I think they're better. Crazily, weirdly enough, I really do. I mean that when I say that. I'm not joking. Like, at this point, if he's not 100% and he's not playing hard, which he never really plays hard, but he's not 100%, they're better without him.
Look, you're not wrong in any way. And the thing about it is this. If he's 100% and playing hard, of course they're better. But he's not. And here's the thing. Kyrie even touched on this. Kyrie in the postgame said, he goes, not to disrespect or anything, but when Kawhi doesn't play, they play with more liberation. That's the quote he said.
Yeah.
And that's true. They play with more freedom, more confidence. They fly around and play hard defensively. More guys get in a rhythm. When Kawhi plays, and they were talking about this on TNT after the game, they throw him the ball and watch him, or what happens is what happened in Game 3, which he was not used a lot in Game 3. He didn't take all that many shots. He only played 25 minutes, but the dude wasn't playing hard.
No.
He was loafing out there, turning the ball over, missing shots, not giving a fuck, didn't try one bit. And the reason that I think that's so ridiculous is, look, if you know Kawhi, which most people who watch the NBA do, you know he's not playing through a serious injury, right? Like, if he's injured, he's not fucking playing. So that should tell you that he can't be that fucking injured. Like, I don't buy this, that he's he's 60%. Because he wouldn't play if he was 60%.
It was leg soreness, right?
Yes, it's knee soreness and inflammation.
Crazy, yeah.
So, like, he's not that hobbled. He is legitimately more worried about his knee and about being 100% for the rest of his career than he is about his teammates. Paul George, Kawhi, or James Harden, Russell Westbrook, none of them have rings. They're all chasing rings. They played a long time in this league. This is a team that had championship potential here, and he doesn't give a fuck. He shits on them, and so when he plays and doesn't try, they don't try. That's what happened in that game.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned, I think they were up 6, right, or something like that, and then you checked back in and lost the whole lead, and they didn't score for, it's just, it really is on the offensive side where it's such a defense, even when he's not that healthy, he plays decent enough defense, I think.
In Game 3, he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't pay that close of attention, but the offensive stuff was just crazy.
It was awful.
I mean, it was just, they would throw him the ball, they'd clear out, and he'd miss. And it's just like, what are you doing?
I mean, and he didn't care that he missed. He didn't care what he was doing out there. It was, I mean, they're 2-0 without him. They're 0-2 with him in this series. Like, yeah, and this was the argument that they got in, was Chuck and Shaq were talking about it, and they agreed. And Shaq was like, look, if I'm Harden and Paul George, I'm like, hey, if you come back, we don't need you to be that guy. We just need you to be a role player. Like, knock that open shots, whatever. Like, if late in the game we need a go-to bucket and we can go to you, that's fine. But, like, we're not going to, like, throw you the ball and watch. Like, that's just not going to happen. And Chuck's like, yeah, I agree. And they're talking. And Kenny's like, no, this team has no chance to win a championship without Kawhi Leonard. You have to try to get him back as soon as possible.
Yeah, but I would tell him,
back.
If I were them, I'd tell him, hey, listen, just get your knee completely healthy. If we win the series, we have you next series.
Right.
You know, and then there's no excuses of, oh, my leg. Just don't play for 2 weeks, right? Because at this point, you're limiting your team.
Yep. And honestly, I think that the Thunder versus them without Kawhi would still be a very competitive
Fun
series. And if he did play and was 100% and actually tried, then they probably would be the favorite to win that series.
Yeah.
So it'll be very interesting how that plays out. But yeah, Kawhi is just such a bitch, and I just cannot stand him. I like the Clippers because I like Westbrook, and I don't like Harden, but I would love to see Harden and Westbrook win a ring together. It'd be awesome.
Monster.
Yeah, I mean, so to me, I'm rooting for the Clippers, and when Kawhi's out there, it's hard to root for them because he's so bad.
I get it.
All right, quickly to the East, we can talk about the most compelling series, which is the Knicks-Sixers. This has been a very fun series. Yep. The Knicks in Game 4, up 2-1 in the series, erase a double-digit second-half deficit to win it. Jalen Brunson goes for 47. It's a Knicks playoff record, 18 for 34, 10 assists. In the first 2 games, Brunson averaged 23 and shot 29% from the floor and averaged 6 assists. In the second 2 games, 43 points per game, 51%, and 11.5 assists. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah, he went crazy.
Now, he is from Philadelphia, so maybe he likes playing back there.
Oh, yeah.
So
I forget he's a Nova kid. I didn't know he was from Philly.
Yeah, and so, I will say this. If there was a team or a situation where I thought of the teams left, like, is there a matchup where if a team's down 1-3, they could come back? I would say the Sixers probably have the best shot. And the reason being is, if you look at it, it could very easily be 3-1 Sixers in this series, right? Like, they very easily could have won Game 1. It was tied with under 2 minutes to go. Josh Hart hadn't made a 3 the entire game, made 4 threes in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, very unlucky to lose the one where the clusterfuck ending.
That's Game 2.
Yeah.
Game 2, they're up. I think the Sixers had a 99% win percentage with 25 seconds to go. Brunson's 3 catches the rim and falls in. They steal it, obviously hit the 3, win, right? Yeah. So they could have won those 2 games. Very easily could have won Game 4. So it wouldn't shock me if the Sixers can find a way to steal Game 5 in New York, get it back to Philly, win Game 6 at home, and get it to a Game 7. Anything can happen. The reason I don't think that will happen is, A, Joel Embiid is who Joel Embiid is, and that's a guy who chokes in big games. He did it in game 4. They had to have it. You can't go down 3-1, right? Like, that's just a thing you can't do. And he was horrible in the fourth quarter. Absolutely disappeared in the second half. Missed a bad layup late in the game trying to draw a foul when he could have just dunked it.
I know you like to hate on Joel. And
I actually don't hate on Joel.
I know,
much.
and I'm not a Joel fan by any stretch. I think he's good, but you got to give a little credit in the sense that I'm willing to bet that 90% of NFL or NBA players would not be playing with what's wrong with his leg.
Agreed.
He's trying to play. I mean, so you got to give him credit there. He's not getting offensive rebounds. It's not like he's always, it's not that he's an elite offensive rebounder anyway, but I mean, I just legitimately think he's so hampered with his leg. He's doing the best he fucking can out there. Now, that's definitely an excuse for him because he has disappeared in the fourth quarter of games, right? But
yeah, and
I just legitimately feel that if Joel Embiid is healthy in this series, 100% healthy, I think the Sixers would beat the Knicks. Because the Knicks, I know Brunson's going crazy and playing good, and I do like the fact that the Knicks hustle their fucking tail off and offensive rebound everything.
Yeah.
Like everybody's in there busting their ass to get offensive rebounds. So, I mean, it's admirable. I don't think they're a team that's talented enough to be. Now, the thing is, they could win the next series against, obviously, it's going to be Indiana. They could win that series, obviously. I think they probably will just because they play harder. I don't think the Celtics are great, but I don't think the Knicks can beat the Celtics. That's one matchup I know the Knicks play good defense. I don't think the Knicks can score with the Celtics. I think the Heat play really good defense, and they have some, oceanfront property up in the Celtics' head. They have own real estate up there, rent-free real estate, and the Celtics still ended up beating the shit out of them last game. I just don't, I don't know. I don't see the New York beating the Celtics. I thought the only team in the East that could beat the Celtics, and like I said, I don't love the Celtics, is a full-strength Bucks team.
Yeah, I agree with you on that in the sense that that's probably the team with the best chance if they didn't go get Doc Rivers and kept Mike Budenholzer. I would agree.
Is a fucking
idiot. But I will say, I don't think the Knicks have no shot against the Celtics not because I think the Knicks are all that great, and I don't. I think they just play hard, like you said. Brunson, as good as he was in games 3 and 4, was horrible games 1 and 2. And if he didn't show up for 2 games against the Celtics, they would lose. Like he has to score 35 pretty much every night. But the Knicks aren't that great. But I just don't buy the Celtics. Like I just don't buy the Celtics in the playoffs until they win a championship. Like
I get it. I don't think they're going to win a championship. I think they're going to get through the East.
Yeah, they probably will get through the East. But that's about it. Now I want to go back real quick to Embiid because the one thing I will say that, talking about him being injured, he scored 50 in game 3. So he ain't 60% like we're talking about with Kawhi either. Like, I don't know. I agree. Like, you even said it. Maybe he is.
Doesn't he have I thought he has what does he have wrong with him?
It's a meniscus. It's a meniscus thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I don't think it's torn.
Well, you can play with the torn.
Yeah, but I don't think that's it because he tweaked it again, like going into the playoffs, and he was all nervous about it. Okay, look, I'm not saying he's 100%, but dude, whatever they shot him up with at halftime of game 3, he looked like a different dude. And then, so if you go out and score 50 in game 3, and then you come out in game 4 and go 7-19, 1-6 from 3, and score 12 of your 27 on free throws, like that's not a very good game. And additionally, not only did he disappear in the fourth quarter, who was guarding him in that fourth quarter? Mitchell Robinson did not play, and Isaiah Hartenstein had 5 fouls in the third quarter. They had Precious Achiuwa in the entire fourth quarter, a guy who doesn't even normally play. And he couldn't score on Precious Achiuwa. The guy's a borderline non-NBA player. I mean, he can't even make a fucking layup. I mean, there's no excuse. If you're dropping 50 in game 5 or in game 3, and you had 34 in game 2, and 29 in game 1, and 25 in the first 2 quarters of game 4, and then you suck in the second half against Precious Achiuwa, to me, that's just not an injury thing. Like, is he 100%? No. And do those Sixers win the series if he is? Probably. But whatever he is better than what he showed. Like, it wasn't a product of his injury, right? Like, the fourth quarter was not a product of him being injured. The fourth quarter was a product of that's what he has done his entire career.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, how many times does Jokic not show up in the fourth quarter? Like, it doesn't happen. Like, great players doesn't happen. He's great until he's not. I mean, he's just he's annoying too, like grabbing the leg of that dude and that.
Love the dirty play.
Fuck
love
him.
it. No,
Fuck
yeah.
him.
I mean, I agree that he's never really been a, I know you want to call him a closer, right? He didn't come in and close out fourth quarter games, but I do think the injury definitely plays some part of it. But yeah, probably not as much as I'm saying, like you said. But yeah, very easily could be up 3-1 in the series. It's crazy. That's a wild series. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah, it has been fun to watch. I'm rooting for the Knicks to win. I have a bet on the Knicks to win that series, so I'm going to root for them in Game 5. But I won't be upset if I get to see more games.
Breaking NBA news: Victor Wembanyama and Spurs to play Pacers twice in Paris next year.
That's interesting.
Yep.
I wonder why the Pacers. Maybe a home type deal.
Yeah,
they
just
each give away a home game.
Yep.
But real quick, other series. We don't have to talk about these in depth. Celtics Heat Game 4 tonight, 2-1. Quick answer: do the Heat have any shot to win Game 4?
I guess they have a shot to win Game 4 because they've shown that they can do it, but they have no shot in the series.
No
It's just
shot in
gonna
the
be
series.
No shot.
Took a historic 3-point shooting night just to beat them one game.
Yep.
Thunder Pelicans. Thunder. I think the Thunder probably get the sweep tonight.
I think they're gonna sweep them.
The Pelicans are horrible.
The Pelicans are terrible. Without Zion, they have to have Zion. If
If
they had Zion in
played,
the series, it would have been a
interesting.
fun series.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. Mark Daigneault wins Coach of the Year, by the way, for the Thunder. That was announced yesterday on TNT, which much deserved. That team has built up, and Sam Presti, to his credit, stockpiled those draft picks, did a great job building the team from within. Although I think Chet Holmgren sucks. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is great. By the way, if they show that fucking commercial,
I was about to mention that.
What a pro wants one more time. I'm gonna fucking jump off a cliff. Literally, it's the worst commercial I've ever seen in my entire life. It makes my ears fucking bleed, metaphorically, every time I hear that
It's
commercial.
terrible.
I'm surprised I haven't seen more videos of people like throwing their remotes through their TV when that commercial comes on. I mean, it's that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You pretty much touched on
What-
it. I lose my mind.
What's worse, that commercial or the Apple "Don't Let Me Go" commercial? Where it's like,
The Chet one.
is it?
Oh, yeah.
Bailey, would you agree? Which one's worse?
They're both.
Where it sings the "Don't Let Me Go" and it sings it like 40 different times. That one might be
It's
worse,
worse
right?
than Chet.
They're
there's nothing
dude,
worse than Chet.
I don't know. They're equal to me. They're
I'll
both.
have to be on the lookout for that one, but fuck Chet.
No, yeah, that one is. It's literally the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. This one.
That's pretty bad, but Chet singing.
This is
Chet,
30. I'm not playing it. That goes 30 seconds long. I think it is.
It's long enough, Bailey.
That's true. The song itself is probably 10 to 15 seconds, right? But that's all it takes for me to want to swan dive off the Tower of the Americas. It's
bad.
I mean, it is like people should be on suicide alert for that commercial, and they've played it more than any other commercial over the playoffs. Every game, every single fucking game. I mean, whoever designed that commercial should be taken out and shot in the barn.
Oh, boy.
Metaphorically. I would never condone violence.
I love how Dylan.
Unless it was a Hunger Games NFL quarterback draft edition.
I love how Dylan can talk about taking someone out back and shooting them, but we can't talk about midgets.
Did I not just say it was a joke? Can we joke on this podcast?
I think midget wrestling is a joke, personally, and so does Big Dog. But you say we can't talk midget
He
wrestling.
came on here with a Vietnam veteran tat
is
today,
it?
okay?
Yeah, it's a
It's
real,
a real
sport.
It's a real sport.
Those are real athletes, dude.
If you could bet on it, then it would be a real sport, but you can't. All right? Because it's obviously fixed, and there's like underground books that take those bets for sure. Now, moving on. Last series, just want to mention it because it's kind of been this type of series where like it's the last thing we're going to talk about for the NBA playoffs, and it is probably the closest like series of the bunch. And they've put every single game on NBA TV since game one. Like, nobody's watching this
the
fucking series.
disrespect Orlando and Cleveland are getting.
Orlando-Cleveland is tied 2-2, game 5 tonight. I will be watching for sure. Like, it's going to be a fun game to watch. Like, right? Like, it's a game 5.
Wait, do they play tonight?
Yeah, they play tonight. Cavs were up 2-0, won both home games. Magic respond, win game 3 by like 40. Then game 4, the Cavs were up by 9 at halftime, dominated the first half, and then the Magic come out and just catch fire, and somehow all of a sudden the Magic are a decent three-point shooting team at home, but
It'll go Cavs in 7. I told you, I think when it was like game 3, and then Orlando won by 40. Like, we ain't going out on a limb. It just seems like that's the way it's going to play, that every home team's going to win that series.
Yep, you did.
Cavs in 7.
Donovan Mitchell was horrible game 4. He was so good at home.
It's tomorrow. They play
Wait, I thought it was tonight.
7 tomorrow. Tonight we have...
then I must have been looking at it past
Celtics,
midnight.
Heat, Thunder, Pelicans, Lakers, Nuggets.
Oh. I was looking forward to a game 5. Those games suck tonight.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. Only one hockey game tonight, too.
Who won Edmonton last night?
Edmonton 1-0, and they got outshot, I believe it was 33-13, something crazy. And they are 33-16. Yeah, it was something wild. But they ended up winning 1-0, which, if you know anything about hockey, you know Edmonton does not typically win games 1-0.
No, it's high scoring, but who won? Wait, who's the game tonight? Dallas and Vegas?
No, there's only they play late tonight. The early game is the
there's
Tampa and Florida. Yeah.
So there are 2 games tonight.
Two games tonight.
So I need
3 games tomorrow.
And then tomorrow is my big game because I need the Jets to win that game at home, and they're actually an underdog, even money. I need them to win that game. Okay. So, real quick, I don't know how we are on time here, but we're going to talk about a few more things. I want to touch real quick one more NBA thing I forgot. NBA officiating. Okay?
It's been brilliant.
It's been so
all
fucking bad.
postseason.
Bro.
Show these refs some fucking respect.
Dude. We watched this yesterday.
Which one?
The Clippers-Mavs, where, and fuck Zubac. I don't care about Zubac. But Zubac gets absolutely hacked for the Clippers, right? Like, both hands grabbed. It was an intentional foul to prevent a layup.
Yeah.
All 3 officials missed the call.
Yep.
The ball goes out of bounds off the Clippers.
Yep.
Jason Kidd challenges the call because it was out of bounds off the Clippers, which it was. But it was a clear, literally, if it was a college game, it's probably a flagrant foul. Like, it's that obvious. Like, it was no play on the ball, grab his arms. And they give the Mavericks the ball. Jason Kidd wins the challenge. The stupidity of this system. So you have a system where if you challenge a call in this instance, and the ball was out of bounds off this guy, and there's a clear foul causing it, like, not like maybe he hit him, maybe he didn't, clear foul. You cannot review that aspect of the play. You can only review who the ball is off of. However, 2 other scenarios this playoffs, the jump ball who is off of Oklahoma City when they were playing, the Pelicans, Oklahoma City game 1. There's a jump ball, right? Because the ball was hit out of bounds at the same time and the officials couldn't tell who it was off of, so they called jump ball. Mark Daigneault, coach of the year in the NBA, challenges the call saying it was off of the other team. So he's challenging that it's their ball, correct? How can they then look at it, which they did, and give the ball to the Pelicans because it was off the Thunder? Because he was not challenging that the ball was off of them. Why would it not just be an unsuccessful challenge? Why did they get the ball? Number 1. Number 2, they have a rule now that if you have a foul on somebody and the officials think that it might have been a flagrant, right? So, like, this has happened 2 times I've seen in the playoffs so far. There's a foul called on one team. Guy goes down, grabs his mouth, whatever bullshit NBA players do. Officials go to the monitor to review it for a flagrant foul. They go and look, and they say, not only was it not a flagrant foul, it was actually a foul on the other guy. And they change it from a foul on the court to a different team's foul. So is that not is that not contradictory in itself that you can review a foul for a flagrant and reverse it to a foul on another team, but you can't reverse a call?
I agree that it's stupid, but that's just I think they need
to
change it.
Who wrote it?
Well, someone in the NBA is not so smart.
Adam Silver's a fucking idiot.
The jump ball one makes sense to me because, first of all, that guy was an idiot for challenging that. He is an idiot. Because it was Chet Holmgren versus like some guy that was 6 foot tall in the jump ball, and he was an idiot for challenging it. But that one they can change because it was a jump ball. They're not allowed to review it. But since it was a neutral call, and then they can figure out, oh, it's clearly off him. The foul one, like we saw yesterday, if there's a foul called on the floor, which is you've touched on, but it's ridiculous how there has to be a foul on the floor to actually change. I do find it absolutely nuts that the one thing is you can challenge a foul and they can like reverse it to put it on your team.
That's
crazy. Wild. You could say there was, okay, you're right, we missed that one, but to review it and then be like, no, actually it was it was a foul on the, on your team actually, so that is kind of wild. But yeah, I assume they'll fix it in the offseason, but who knows? The challenge thing's so stupid. Under 2 minutes, we just need to get the call right on the floor whose ball it is, whether you have a challenge or not.
Yep.
Because we've seen several times where it's like, okay, they got that wrong clearly, but they don't have a challenge. It's like, it takes 10 seconds to look at that.
Now,
not saying do that all game. I'm just saying, look, in the last minute, or even the last minute, but the last 2 minutes.
No, I'm fine with that, and I totally agree. My two issues with it are this, and because the NBA is so stupid, if they bring back that rule, they have to do at least one thing, which is if you can review who the ball is off of, you also must be able to review at least if there was a foul causing the ball to go out of bounds. Even if you say, okay, we can't call the foul and award them 2 shots, because this happens all the time in the NBA where there's a foul and the ball's out of bounds, knocked out of bounds. The official doesn't want to call the foul, right? And so they call it their ball, even though it was off of the other team. And so then they go and review it, and it's like, well, it was... They have to reverse it, but the reason it wasn't called was because there was a foul there, and he didn't call the foul, and we can't review the foul. So they have to add that. If you're going to review everything in the last 2 minutes, which you should be able to rule, like, it should be a rule. If you get hit causing the ball to go out of bounds, then it is considered off of you on a review. That's what I think, number one.
I don't think they'll ever do that, but I agree.
Number 2, I'm curious your thoughts on this, because this is interesting, and I don't know how many people bring this topic up, but we have this happen. Like, I've seen this happen so many times. College, it happens a lot because they still do the review under 2 minutes. But you will see where, like, a guy is making a pass, somebody deflects the ball out of bounds or hits it, and it's clearly like the defender deflecting the ball, causing it to go out of bounds. But you slow it down to like 10 times slow speed, and you see the like, oh yeah, he tipped the ball, but the guy who touched it last was actually the offense. And it's kind of like, the reason I don't like that is because if you reviewed every out-of-bounds call over the course of the game, 20% of calls that go like that happen like that end up actually being the wrong call because it was touched last by the offensive guy. So now you're changing how you call the game in the last minute. Do you think that should be reviewed? Like, do you have any problem with the fact it happened? The reason I bring it up is it happened this year with Oakland and NC State on that pass on the last play of the game. Oakland threw a ball. NC State clearly tipped it, but it touched the guy's finger last from Oakland. It also happened in the national championship with Virginia and Texas Tech back in 2019. Might have cost Tech a chance to win the game where, like, it went off Moretti, their Italian little guard. It went off his finger. It was clearly hit out of bounds by Virginia, but his finger just caught it on the way out and, like, on the 15th angle, zoomed in, slowed down to the, like, up-teen speed. Oh, it's off his pinky, clearly. Like, do you have a problem with that?
I mean, I don't like it, but there's no way to change it. I mean, if you're going to review it, you can't be like,
that's what I'm saying.
It was hit, but I mean, that's why a lot of people, that's why a lot of purists in baseball were very skeptical of putting that in, because it was like, okay, well, what are we going to do about these plays where the guy's clearly fucking safe at second base? But, when he hits the bag and they're holding the tag on him,
comes up,
and maybe his cleat comes this far up, that's not what we want in the spirit of the game. You know what I mean? Like, no one wants that. It's like, he was safe, back in, when we were playing this game 100 years ago, no one would be ever like, oh, his cleat came, so that's what it's, the gray area of it.
I kind of agree with that, too.
No, I
that's
agree. I hate it, too. I mean, I hate it, too, but I just don't know what you can. In baseball, they're pretty good about, if your foot comes like way off or like something like that, like, or you can clearly see space, like, it's like, okay, we have to call that. But if it's close where it's like, oh, maybe his cleats weren't quite in contact, they're not gonna do that. Now, basketball, it's like every little touch of the fingers. Yeah. I mean, I hate that part of it too, but I guess you got to get it right. But
that's the one.
I do agree with you though. Like, some of the ones you're like, oh, that's bullshit because he got fouled and then it just happens to go off his finger. So
those are
if you are going to review though, obviously you have to call it that way. So
those are the two reasons I like. If I had my choice, I would agree with you. I would review the last minute at least, if not 2 minutes. But that is the one thing I like about the fact that they don't review it is that that's the call, and we're not going to be like, oh, no, I hate it. I hate college.
Yeah.
No, it was off him. And it's like, well, yeah, maybe it was, but we're going to review fucking every 2 seconds. We're reviewing who the ball was off of, even on ones where it's clear. And, like, they can't find a balance. They can't find a balance where it's like, no, we're only going to review it if like the official deems it to be like worthy of a review. The coach can't just request it, which in college they can. No, I want that review. That touched him last. And then you have the part where like, well, the team's out of timeouts. Now they're getting a free timeout. Like, it's just, there's all these different things with it.
And there's all kinds of stuff that happens like that through the course of the game where it's like, oh, that probably was off him, but it was a foul anyway.
That's what I'm
so
saying.
They call it that way and you just go on.
Right.
And no one has a problem with it
Right.
because it's like, well, they didn't call the foul, but it's their ball.
So then
I mean, it's
why
like, yeah.
why look at it in the last 2 minutes?
Get it.
Right?
Yeah, I get that argument.
But again, if I had my way, like I think I would design a system where at least
I don't think
could,
coaches should be able to ask. It should be strictly officials
Yes.
saying like, "Hey, all three of us want to review it to make sure we got it right." Because there are all kinds of instances like that where it's like, "Hey, look, you can talk about amongst themselves. Hey, I probably missed a foul call there, and that's why I called it this way.
Yep.
If we go to review, we're going to be rewarding, and then just say, no, we're going to play." So
and again, there's one where it comes back to this. Why not have a replay center and have buzz down?
Yeah.
Like they met like a third party, right? Like they're not officiating.
They
in
have to
game.
buzz down.
They have no emotion of like a player yelled at me or this happened. Right? Like they just watch it and they're like, okay,
oh, that was a big blown call.
Right.
We got to do it. Yeah.
let's look at it.
That's what they should
buzz
do.
down.
You shouldn't be able to ask reviews. They should have to buzz down.
Like I wonder though, like we're
It's
sitting
like
here
in
on
soccer, VAR. They
Right.
say, hey, look, don't kick off the ball. You want to come look at this, or,
Right.
it's offsides or whatever it may be. That's the best system for
And-
it.
and, like,
the XFL has.
It's crazy that I agree. And it's crazy that like we're sitting here on like a podcast with whatever, like under 2,000 subscribers sitting here and we're discussing this like pretty openly. And like, do they have these conversations? Like, does anybody ever have conversations that are productive
you
where
would
it's
think-
like,
you would
hey,
think
we
they
should
have
discuss
to,
these
but-
things, like these are important, but they don't, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Like, I don't know.
You would think they should or would have to, but who knows, man? It is crazy though. Those end of the reviews. Why don't you talk about your girl Caitlin Clark?
I am. Okay. I got a few. We'll do like kind of rapid fire last couple of topics and get out of here. Okay. WNBA season starts May 14th. Incoming.
No comment.
WNBA League Pass. $34.99. $34.99 for the season. All right. What a steal. You get $34.99 to watch Caitlin Clark. Guarantee you this. League Pass for WNBA is going to be up 10,000% this year. You get it for $35.
Way more than that.
Yeah.
So it'll be up 100,000. I mean, first of all, no one orders that. So it's going to be nothing but people that play in the league's parents and Caitlin Clark fans.
Do you think that they're going to broadcast all of her games?
That was my only answer for W. They already said that. They said that NBA TV is going to have like, how many games do they play in the WNBA?
I have no idea.
Like 30. I'm making up the number. It's like they're going to have 30 of the 36 games.
They only play 36 games.
Making that
oh, you're
number
right.
up.
No, they only play 36 games.
Yeah. So it was 30 out of 36 games are on NBA TV or nationally broadcast.
Okay, so then it's almost not even worth it to get the league pass unless you want to pay for the 6 games that she doesn't that she plays on that. Well, I'll get it for my mom for Mother's Day. She'll get an early Mother's Day present. When is Mother's Day? Isn't it soon?
Soon.
Couple weeks, right? I'm gonna get her WNBA league pass so she can watch Caitlin Clark.
What
on
a
her phone.
treat! The gift that keeps on giving all year long.
That's right. I already got her a Caitlin Clark jersey. In fact, I'm getting myself a Caitlin Clark jersey, but it'll be an Iowa one because I'm not wearing a WNBA jersey. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Now,
at least you have that much respect.
How dare you? How dare you? Now, Caitlin Clark also got drafted #1 overall, like we talked about. However, Ice Cube has now upped his offer on the Big Three, $15 million for the year. She would make more playing for 1 year in this Big Three, taking this contract, than she would if she played her entire career in the WNBA.
I wonder if Nike has some kind of stipulation on like that deal that she signed. You're going to touch on that, like if she can only play WNBA or if she turns into you kind of turn into a novelty act when you go play in the boys league.
I don't think she would do it anyway.
Yeah, listen, it's going to be really, really bad for her brand if she goes to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about professional men's basketball players that are, a little bit older versus Caitlin Clark. And it's like, I'm sure that she'd get some open shots occasionally and hit them, right? Because they're playing half court, like whatever, but it just wouldn't be a good look. It would be one of those deals where there are people that are out there that are delusional enough to be like, oh yeah, she could play with the men just fine. Like, no, she can't.
She can't.
Especially those men. Like, it's not
the only reason I would say some of those guys is because some of them are bad. Like, I don't know if you've watched Big Three.
No, I haven't.
Some of those guys who are like 50-year-old men.
Sure.
Like, come on, like she can play with those guys.
Yeah, the super old guys.
That's not. There's no doubt about that. But like Ryan Hollins played in that fucking league for like 3 years. He's like the worst basketball player on the planet.
Does Reggie Evans still play?
He did for a while. I don't know.
Reggie.
We got the big 3 coming up soon too. I can't wait.
Can't wait.
Cannot wait. Now, I do think that that's a nice fallback plan. If she let's say the WNBA doesn't work out, which isn't going to happen, it's going to work out. But if it didn't, or like when she got older, she can go there and probably make $20 million like in her last year. Like, oh, she's 35, she's still like super popular. She go play there. Like,
yep,
she's the most popular women's athlete, and it's not close. Okay. College basketball transfer portal. Just wanted to mention this because I saw it, and for your sake, Hunter Dickinson returning to Kansas, and then y'all picked up AJ
How does
Storr.
he still have eligibility?
I have no
left?
idea. Great question.
He's like 48.
He is coming back to Kansas. They also picked up AJ Storr, and my boy from Alabama, Rylan Griffin, coming to a Kansas Jayhawk arena near you. Yep, they picked him up yesterday. Got Rylan Griffin. So Kansas,
like 1930s Hoosiers team. A lot of white out there on the floor.
No, Rylan Griffin is not a white guy. He's the guy who launches the 40-footers and dribbles off his fucking feet.
What's the
You're
guy,
thinking of
yeah.
You're thinking of Grant Nelson.
That's who I'm thinking of.
You're thinking of Grant Nelson.
Yeah.
Grant Nelson.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, the guy that just fires threes.
That's right. Yep, Rylan Griffin.
He'll fit in perfect at Kansas.
Yeah. Also, weirdly enough, AJ Hoggard transferring from Michigan State, who'd been there for 4 years.
To Kansas?
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to Kansas, but he's leaving Michigan State.
Interesting.
And Trey Townsend.
Arizona. I saw that one.
He was. Remember we talked 2 weeks ago. They had said he was going to Michigan instead, and we were like, "Oh yeah, that's good. He's staying in Detroit or like staying in the Michigan area." And he ended up going to Arizona, which is an interesting decision. All players have to be in the transfer portal by May 1st. Want to give a shout out to Chris Middleton. Man, he played phenomenal. We didn't touch on the Pacers series, so I just wanted to say this. Game 3, he damn near willed his team to victory. He had like 40 plus points. He hit 2 separate, basically buzzer beaters to tie the game. One sent it to overtime. One should have sent it to double overtime if someone could just stay in front of Tyrese Halliburton for 5 seconds. But that was a heck of a performance by Chris Middleton. We had Scotty Scheffler break his streak, not winning
it's
the
because
tournament.
he had a teammate.
Doesn't count because it was not a singles tournament.
Yeah.
But we did watch Martin Traynor miss that 4-foot putt. Was that what did you say that was the worst putt? It was in the Zurich Classic.
I think it's the worst professional putt I've ever seen hit.
It's 4 feet to
because
tie
it's like
it.
there's a lot of pressure, obviously, on those putts. Obviously, millions of dollars. But like, I don't think he's won before. I could be wrong. But he hit one of the worst chips I've ever seen. It left it about 20 yards short. His partner putted one from off the green up to like 4 or 5 feet, and then he missed the hole by like 6 to 7 inches. And I mean, pros don't do that. I mean, that's, if he lips a putt out from that distance, you're like, oh dang, or just barely misses.
Happens.
It happens. But yeah, it was one of the worst misses. And I told you when he was lying, after he hit that chip and walked up there, I told you he has 0.0 chance of making this. You tell how nervous he was. He was taking weird practice strokes that he never did, and he stood over the ball for way too long ago. I would be shocked if this went in. It was literally 4 to 5 feet, which pros make at least 80-something% of the time, and just missed the hole completely. Like right off the club face, he started walking to go pick up his ball. I was like, oh God.
He literally looked like he was going to shit his pants when he was about to take the putt.
Feel for the guy, but whatever. He's a professional golfer. You got to at least hit the hole there, dude.
I mean, it was pretty.
They made a lot of money, though, because they finished like 3 hours before Rory and them were like second to last group. So they must have gone like, I'm making up the number, but like 8 under or something as an alternate shot team, which is incredible. So they played really well up until then. They had a 3-hour layoff and ended up costing them.
Huge layoff, and then you're playing against Rory and Shane Lowry, to win a tournament, and I don't know if either of those guys had ever won before. And now you're putting, and you have the pressure of not only like winning a tournament, that's one thing, but losing it for your teammate if you miss it. So it's just a lot of pressure. But man, it was real bad. We watched it, and it was like we don't have a good angle on TV the way we were looking at it, and both of us were like, that's not even close, like immediately. But so that was unfortunate. Last thing, dumbass of the week for me. As we talk about the UFL, Bob Stoops of the Arlington Renegades. We were watching the UFL game where the Renegades were playing our San Antonio Brahmas, who, by the way, are 4-1, tied for second place in the UFL. And with, under 4 minutes to go and a running clock,
347, something like that.
He decides to punt down by 2 touchdowns, 2 scores.
10 points, yep.
10 points.
On a 4th and 13 and it was from their side of the field, but it was like the 40.
Yeah.
Unlike 20. And it's like you're down 2 scores, and he had already burned 1 timeout, maybe 2 timeouts, and then I think 1.
It was
and
the
he
dumbest
decided
shit
to
I've ever
punt it.
seen.
I'm like, dude, this is UFL. Throw the ball down the field. Not to mention, it's not like the guys like they're 0-4. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Just go for the first down. Like, I mean, we're gonna punt it. Like, you're trying to save face in the UFL right now. Just go for the. It was wild. And then the Brame is trying to run out the clock through another pick with like 1:20 left. And then instead of the Renegades running up, spiking it, kicking a field goal, and like actually giving themselves a 1 in a million, they just let the clock run out, and the guy like checked it down to somebody. I was like,
checked down
God.
Charlie for like 45 seconds down the field with a running clock. Yeah,
Stupid.
It was
But
brilliant.
Anyway, glad the Brahmas ended up winning that one.
Yeah, Brahmas 4-1. Bob Stoops is Arlington Renegades 0-5. Stoops hitting the bottle pretty hard right now. He wanted to go get to the bar quickly after the game.
I guess that's why I just decided to punt it. Said run this clock out.
Big game, Bob.
Big game, Bob.
All right, that wraps us up. Episode 31 in the books. We'll be back next week to talk NBA playoffs round 2. We have a couple of guests coming on soon.
Big Dogs buddies.
Well, one Big Dog's buddy. I got to get Reed on the show. He's our San Antonio Spurs and Longhorns insider.
Oh, cool.
Reed's got to come on. And then what was I going to say? Shout out to Jonathan Sunday. And he got our number 1 pick on our fantasy football draft. He's maneuvered a Sam Presti 4 of the top 8 picks in the first round, and I did maybe orchestrate that.
I don't know how you guys convince certain people in our league to do stuff.
Because
like, you tell me what
league-
you're doing. I'm like, you traded the first round pick for Saquon Barkley?
Have you seen the people in our league?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that guy's not in the league anymore. But
Well,
anyway.
you do talk a lot of shit about the league for a guy that hadn't won a championship in the modern era.
Hold on. I won in 2006, okay?
That's not the modern era.
I've been to the playoffs.
We had to at least get through middle school to be considered the modern era.
I've been to the
playoffs every year. You just can't win.
Since 2006.
You're the Buffalo Bills of the league.
2006.
You're great in the regular season.
18 straight trips to the playoffs.
If you guys want to see Dylan nearly
18.
kill himself, watch him on a fantasy football Sunday.
Not
My God.
1, not 2, not 3. 18 in a row, and I cannot win a title.
No.
It is ridiculous. But we'll be back next week. Oh, shout out to Sam Hazelwood as well. He's one of my old buddies. He's a big supporter of the show. Been commenting, been watching every week. So thank you, Sam, for watching. Those are my shout outs of the week. And always shout out to Brad Zito because he's the GOAT, and Zito's is the best. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the like button. Subscribe to our channel. We're getting close to our 4,000 watch hours. Oh, please. And 2,000 subscribers. I did say I would give away a jersey last week if we hit 20 comments. I don't know if we hit it or not. I'll have to go back and look. If we did, I'll be giving it away. If not, we'll repeat it for this week. So the next time we hit 20 comments and over 100 likes, I will give away another jersey. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time.
Later.
Hold on. Did you hit stop yet? Let it go for just a second. All right, we're good.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.